It is Sunday, we are live, and things are about to get interesting because, well, are Sasha Banks and Naomi imminently going to be turning to Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown? That's going to be the main theme of the video today. I'm going to be joined by a very special guest in a couple of seconds' time, but also going to want your questions as well. This is a live Q&A format, but I will start off by just giving a quick disclaimer. This is a pure speculation video. This is not inside information saying they will definitely return on this date. So I want to get that out nice and early, but I am going to go with some inside sources of the stuff that I've seen around to make an educated guess. So you will get a bit of inside stuff, you will get a little bit of a prediction, but mainly it's speculation from myself and very special guest and almost a regular on the channel these days. He's part of the furniture these days. It's none other than NX Steve. How are you doing, my friend?
Very good. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for having me on once again. As usual, it's always a pleasure to be on here with you.
It's great to have you on, and it's the weekend. How's it been for you?
To be fair, it's been a bit of a blur, really. I was at work Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and like today's just sort of. I've been up since silly o'clock, and I'm never normally up early on a Sunday, but yeah, I got up early today, and oh my god, now I'm paying for it.
Well, you know what it means. We're going to need some good questions to keep you going. That's what we're going to have to do today. But I've got to say, it's been an interesting weekend. I mean, for me today, I had a bit of free time. So obviously, with you going to Clash of the Castle last weekend, obviously that got me feeling very nostalgic of the last time I went to a premium live event. So I went on the Survivor Series 2021 earlier on today. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Good to go back and watch that and sort of relive it again. Trying to look at every opportunity to see if I could find myself in the crowd somewhere. But if I was, you'd need your binoculars if you were going to find it at best. But still, that's nonetheless. But like we say, today, ladies and gentlemen, get your questions in. We've got Dan, the man, Williams, Mr. DWE in the house. How are we, gents? We're doing very well, Dan. How are you doing? Did you enjoy Cardiff? Obviously, it was in your hometown as well. I saw the picture as well. That's definitely got to be a DP for you in the future. Looked awesome. I hope you had an amazing time at Clash of the Castle. But let's get started, shall we? Let's talk about Sasha Banks and Naomi, because of course they obviously famously walked out of Monday Night Raw on May the 16th. That's when they walked out. They gave the tag team titles through them at John Laurinaitis. They were, suspended indefinitely. They were given the stuff on WWE TV of how unprofessional they were. Of course, since then, a lot of things have changed. Obviously, Vince McMahon is no longer around. John Laurinaitis is no longer around. Triple H has taken over creative control. We've had, Stephanie and Nick Khan at the top there. And of course, when we go through some of the news sources, all of the major dirt sheets have shared this information, whether it's been a fight for, whether it's been a Dave Meltzer. But the source that I've always gone to first and has always broke it first has been Mr. Tom Collier, and he deserves the shout out here. And it seems to be increasingly more and more likely Sasha Banks and Naomi were offered new contracts. Looks like they're going to be coming back, and it feels like it could be imminently. We had the women's tag team titles that were off TV for pretty much the whole of the summer, and then we had the tournament start after SummerSlam. We've now got to a situation where we got ourselves new tag team champions in Raquel Rodriguez and Aaliyah. They beat Io Sky and Dakota Kai in the finals of that tournament, which a lot of people thought was the wrong decision at the time. Of course, Dakota Kai was not the right person to be pinned. She wasn't legal at the time. We've got the rematch tomorrow night on Raw. Once this is put to bed, we're going to wonder what's next for the Women's Tag Team Championships. And this is where we go into pure speculation territory. Like I say, Tom Collier broke it first. The idea is that the contracts have been offered. It looks like they're going to be coming back. It looks like they're coming back as a team as well when they do. Is tomorrow night on Raw potentially the place they could come back?
I actually think, yeah, it is. Because I think they're the reason why Dakota and Io aren't going to win them titles tomorrow. Because looking at the last two matches that Aaliyah and Raquel Gonzalez has, don't get me wrong, they've done an amazing job of like building Raquel up. Like she's been like, especially the one from Raw, she was absolutely dominant in it, just completely destroyed the opposition. But then I'm sitting there thinking about it, I'm like, I don't see why you would put the title on these two just for them to lose tomorrow and have Naomi and Sasha come back. So I think that for me personally, they will come back. They will end up costing Io and Dakota the tag team titles, because it will just, I don't know, it's kind of confusing on what I'm trying to say, because it's like, I think that the story going forward is going to be Raquel and Aaliyah versus Naomi and Sasha, not Dakota and Io. I think with those three being tied up with Bianca at the minute, I think my logic is that it's keeping the women's tag team division going. The fact that it will give Aaliyah and Raquel story time, it will give them TV time. And just think for me, it makes more sense to have those 4 feuding because you just more women on TV instead of having the Raw Women's Championship and the Tag Team Championships tied up with 3 women in one faction.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good shout as well, because when you think about it, like you said there, we want to keep a division going. There's lots of different teams. Obviously, a lot of the teams were thrown together makeshift in that women's tag team tournament. We've not seen so many teams stick together so much after. I suppose you've got Nikki SH and Doudrop sort of feuding on main event, I think, with Dana Brooke and Tamina, but sadly, I'm not keeping up with that. But obviously, when you see with the SmackDown side of things, a lot of people going for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So, like you say, there is an idea and a concept here of keeping the division going. If Raquel and Aaliyah lose those championships, some of that I think when they eventually do, I think they will split. I can see Raquel almost turning on Aaliyah eventually if Aaliyah is the one that say the letdown of the team, because Big Mama Cool I think will come back at some point. She's been a smiling babyface that's going to SmackDown, and I don't think that fits her narrative. I don't think it fits her character, and I think Triple H probably looks and sees, I saw what I had in NXT, and I think that that's what he's going to want to do with pushing Raquel. So I think in a way you could be onto something, but my initial thought was that perhaps Triple H will right the wrong here, and we will get the idea then of having Dakota Kai and Io Sky as the women's tag team champions. Moving on then, so Bayley can try and take, let's say, over the control over the Raw Women's division, getting the Raw Women's Championship potentially at Extreme Rules. But with the idea of Sasha and Naomi potentially returning at this stage, I do feel that we've got 4 weeks until Extreme Rules. If we want to start making the women's tag team titles mean something, you want to see it on premium live events. You want to see those big stories coming in as well. So let's hope that if they're going to come in, it's going to be imminently.
The only thing I can think is I'm sort of future planning here. I'm thinking a Survivor Series, and I'm thinking like I'm thinking if they wanted to do a 5-on-5 match that they could do, for instance, they could do Dakota, Io, Bayley, Sasha and Naomi versus Raquel, Aaliyah, Bianca, Asuka, and Bliss.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Just a super I'm sort of kind of future. I know that's less likely to happen, but I don't know. It's just I know what you mean by right and the wrong, because obviously everyone knows that it was the wrong person pinned, and it was a very strange booking. And it's just, like I said, we've been building Raquel so well for the last 2 weeks. Like I said, the one on Raw last week, she was absolutely dominant. I mean, I can't even remember Aaliyah getting that much ring time. It was just all Raquel. And I think that the future for them too is when they do split, it will, like you said, it will be Raquel turning on Aaliyah. But it kind of almost a mirror image to Rhea and Liv. But I think just done better, and not so much that like Liv ended up with the SmackDown Championship, so you can't complain with that one, really.
No, not at all. I mean, I've been a big fan of the idea. They've finally got a push and finally got to get the SmackDown Women's Championship. And obviously, that now it looks like she'll be taking on Ronda Rousey again at Extreme Rules. But obviously, we may get to talk about that for our comment section at some point. But let's see what everyone's got to say, because the comments are coming in. We've got a few people that join us in the stream as well. Noob and Co saying hello. Hope you're doing well, Noob. Thank you for checking us out. Dan, the man, actually did answer us here about saying Carter was the best day of his life. It reminded me of why I trained to be a wrestler. Had a first singles training match today. That was a decent level. I main evented training as well. How amazing is that? That's really cool. We could have a superstar in the future on our hands.
That's pretty impressive. To main event training, man. It's like that's the first step to being the top of the card.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing is, to be fair, that's faith, isn't it? The fact that he main event the singles training, perhaps maybe if that's the case, perhaps it shows you could be excelling, Dan. Keep doing what you're doing. And the thing is, kind of like that, a big experience like that, 60,000 people as well in that sort of stadium. That must be dreams if you train and become a professional wrestler, and hopefully you get to perform in front of a crowd that size one day, and particularly as well, a hometown crowd for Dan as well.
Yeah. That would be, like I said, anything's possible. We've seen Drew McIntyre's story, how that guy was fired from WWE. And he literally just main evented that Cardiff pay-per-view. So, yeah, anything's possible, man. But, yeah, good luck to him, man. I hope he does well.
Yeah, same to you. Wish you all the best, and thank you for checking that stream as well. And also, big thank you to James Stewart checking that stream as well. Says watching here after Tom Collier gave you a shout out. So hello, guys. Thank you, James, for taking the time out to come and watch this video and to come and join us here. It was very kind of Tom to do that on his video on Friday. Did his usual spoiler warning show, and he literally said, go and check out this channel. And obviously, he dropped the link and everything. So very thankful for Tom for doing that. So I was a big fan of Tom Collier and his content, and very thankful, James, that you've taken the time out to come and check us out. Let's lift another comment here as well. So it's all about the chase, and it keeps us more interested, I think. And I think that's a very good point as well there. Obviously, the chase here with it. I mean, if Sasha Banks and Naomi were to return, for example, you don't necessarily want them to win the championship straight away. You want them to have a chase as well.
Yeah, but then I suppose there is that whole privilege thing where we never lost the title kind of thing as well. So, I mean, whatever happens, they will be pushed into they will be number one contenders automatically. But I'm kind of excited for this women's division going forward because of the stories that have played out in the last week or so. Especially with the teaser that Ronda and Shayna had on Friday, it pushed me over the edge, and I thought, yeah, we're definitely going to get these two as a tag team at some point. And if you look at the sort of tag teams they have now, it begins to become quite a stacked division. Aside from Judrop and Nikki ASH, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see him do well. But for me recently, they just seem like background fodder because all I ever see them in is background segments. They're constantly arguing with each other. They're not picking up wins unless there's a long-term goal for them being in these background segments. And maybe they do pick up the tag team titles at some point. But yeah, it looks like Triple H is starting to really invest in this tag team division, and bringing Naomi and Sasha back is it's a plus, man, because they're two great wrestlers.
They really are, and that's the thing. They've been a big miss in the time that they've been absent. Obviously, it felt like that perhaps we could have got something special with them as champions when they were flying the flag. But obviously, plans were a bit different at the time, and that's why it caused a hiatus. I'm sure there could be more speculative reasons of why as well. We're not backstage; we don't know what was going on. But at the same time, I hope that they do come back soon because I do think they could add that added star quality to that division as well.
I think with Sasha as well, I think this actually be a bonus that she's had the time off because obviously, if anyone's watched the D23 thing yesterday, they dropped the latest trailer for Mandalorian, and I presume she's going to be in that as well. So whether she the timing off is just coincidental as well, when she's had a chance to go and film stuff for that, might be a plus. But like I said, if that's all done and in the can now for the Mandalorian season 3, I think it is, then there's no reason why she can't be on TV full time as well. So it's not like we're going to miss her at some point because she has to go away and do these shoots for this show.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic point you make as well. Maybe things are timed on the line just right. And maybe that's also a reason why they didn't intervene when it got to the finals of the tournament to begin with. I think a great way you could have brought them back could have actually been that they actually stopped a winner in the final because, like you said, they were the champions that sort of, I suppose, surrender the championships, but you need to beat the champions to become the champions. The fact that they're now trying to do a division without them almost feels like that it's it gets to a point where you think, well, what are you doing? Well, you're moving on without us. No, we're the reason why you had a tag team division to begin with. You need to beat us if you want to have the championships.
The only thing as well is that when they return, they are going to get a massive face push, a massive face reaction from the crowd. The crowd are going to cheer them. So it's either a case of, I could be totally wrong. We could get Io and Dakota winning tomorrow. And then they're obviously the heels going up against the faces of Naomi and Sasha. Or they just do what people love to do, and it's we'll get what Sasha is quite famous for is getting that face reaction and then just turning heel in the first 2 minutes of being back on TV again. So it's just a really interesting dynamic and how they're going to book it and what happens with it.
Absolutely. And like you said there, the chase is very interesting, as James said earlier on. Just very quick comment here from Ed Fries, actually, as well. Mando is fully filmed for all of the 3 seasons. Season 4 will be shooting soon, I believe. So that's just a little bit with Mandalorian there. But news to me, I must admit, I don't follow Mandalorian, so it's completely alien to me. But hopefully, if she was to come back, she wouldn't be missing so soon, Sasha Banks. But ultimately, let's go to another couple of comments and we can add a couple of points in. But remember, everyone, as well, this is a full open forum Q&A. So any questions you want to talk, anything professional wrestling, Silk and I will answer your questions as well. Anubiko says, Io Sky and Dakota Kai won't be in a major feud, especially against the member of the 4 Horsewomen. We saw what happened with Asuka and Charlotte with no conclusion. So Noob doesn't think that this would be a long-term story if we were to get Sasha and Naomi against Io Sky and Dakota Kai. So the thing is, I feel that they can make the numbers up as well because Bianca Belair is completely outnumbered now with the damage control in this situation for the next few weeks. That also could be why it could make sense now, not just the fact we've got 4 weeks away from when we get the Extreme Rules Premium Live event, but obviously that could help Bianca Belair in the long run as well, knowing that she's got some backup in Sasha and Naomi.
Yes, it could do, but then it's like it brings. But then my thing is that if you're going to add those two to the equation, are they just going to completely forget about them being tag champs when they left and just purely go as a? But it's kind of the same story that we just had with Asuka and Alexa. So I don't know. Unless what we was talking about on Cardiff predictions, where maybe my idea finally comes true and that Sasha and Naomi come out and they bring a third person and we get 3-on-3-on-3, and maybe it's a 9-way or something, or I don't know. It's going to be really, like I said, I think the important thing is to get the titles back on them too, if anything, because I think that, like, they deserve it. They were champs. They were annoyed with how they were booked, and they deserve to be champs, and they deserve to have a long run. But I don't know. It's a case of, oh yes, I want them to be champs, but I think it's a case of you're gonna have to make them re-earn it just to make it a bit more credible and make it more fulfilling for the crowd, I suppose.
Absolutely, and you make a great point as well. Then that's another question I've got for you now. Then is, how do WWE address this with them coming back if they were to kind of ignore what happened previously? I feel like they almost have to bring it up a little bit because fans will be, almost in the background. You know how smart the Twitter universe can be. We know how people are these days in the crowds and stuff, and they want to get salty. It feels like that they may have to address this in some way.
They should, but knowing WWE, it'll probably be a case of, no, they will have to address it. You're right. They can't brush this one under the carpet. Vince had Michael Cole do a whole thing on them on SmackDown. Everyone knows that they walked out, so there has to be some form of story for it. Maybe you have Sasha and Naomi jump Michael Cole. Maybe it's just one of them things where you're like, it's a strange. We've never seen something like this before where we've seen it before, but it's kind of like with dirt sheets and stuff. It's like we know those two were publicly buried on TV, and it's kind of like, yeah, WWE have to rectify a wrong here, and it's going to be mad to see how they do it.
Absolutely. I'm going to jump ahead in some of the comments because this one's just stood out to me when I've seen here. James Stewart says Banks and Naomi should be the ones to address it.
Good shout. Yeah, that's actually a good shout. Yeah.
It's a very good shout, and to be fair, James, we completely agree. Maybe that might be the best way to go about it. But obviously, it'd be interesting to see storyline narrative how they can do it. If they can come across still, like you said, they're going to get the babyface reaction as well, so they can't even really try and do it and come in as heels either, because I just don't think it's going to connect the same. But sometimes the more heelish some people are, the more they get over. We've seen with like the man Becky Lynch when she tried that character start, it didn't quite connect the same way as a heel. She went back to being a babyface. Feels like heel Ronda has worked more as a babyface. It feels like that sort of switching direction as well. So it's interesting to see sometimes that how things can be booked in WWE and how it can work actually to a babyface advantage long term. But David Holly in house, Bama Dave, hope you're doing well. Bama, thank you for checking that stream. Hope you're doing well, my friend. We'll go back up here to a comment from Dan Williams as well. It says they could have someone cost Sasha and Naomi the tag titles. It's a good way to have more than just the belts being the reason why these are feuding. And of course, like you say, there's some sort of attack, some sort of reason to stop it. It prolongs the story. There's more of a chase, as said earlier. There's something that could be a good thing for these tag team titles and the division itself.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, again, what I've said on the past couple of times I've been on here. I have faith that Triple H will do the right thing and will book this correctly. He's not perfect, but I imagine he will do the right thing and we'll get some sort of decent narrative. Like, it's like one of them scenarios that we've never seen before. Like, if you'd gone back 5 weeks ago, you'd have imagined that, well, sorry, whenever Vince left, I know it was like maybe it's 8 weeks ago now, I can't remember, but like, you could imagine that these two were never coming back and they were just going to see out their contracts. And I think a lot of people have probably just accepted that, but it's a different time now, and we're in the unknown with Triple H. So yeah, it's just going to be interesting.
Absolutely. Triple H did that interview with BT Sports. I forget the guy's name, unfortunately. It doesn't spring to the top of my head every time I want to say it. But he was asked, Triple H was asked about Sasha Banks, and he said that sometimes there's a communication, sort of a bit of breakdown, but sometimes you need to build it back up again. But it's a process. So it felt like that he was asked and addressed about her name, and he didn't shoot it down, didn't say it was a no. It feels like she is going to come back. It's just a matter of when. And the reason I've said imminent on this video is because I genuinely believe we are, I'm going to say, less than 2 weeks away, because if it doesn't happen on Raw this week, I feel that, like I said, I do think that Bayley's group from Damage Control, I think Io Sky and Dakota Kai are going to win these titles, and I do think it's going to lead to the point where that's where Sasha and Naomi will eventually return. You can see Raquel and Aaliyah perhaps trying to win those titles back for a couple of months, but I do think by the end of the year, I think Raquel will break off and be a heel going forward. But we'll have to wait and see how it will play out. But a question that's been asked here, and Ed, I'm going to go to your comment in a couple of seconds, my friend, but as we've got the Sasha Naomi questions coming in at the second, I'll just take this one from James as well. Do we think that Banks turns on Naomi in the coming months, or even the other way, a bit of long-term thinking? Eventually all teams break up, it feels a lot of times in wrestling. It seems to be a very common thing. You mentioned already the idea of Banks potentially could go heel straight away, but what about the idea of Naomi joining the Bloodline at some point?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. It'd be actually quite interesting to see what Naomi can do as a heel, because I don't think I've ever seen her actually play a heel. I mean, were the Funkadactyls ever heels? I don't like I don't remember was ever dancing, but I think it would actually. I think it'd be quite interesting to see what she could do. And as much as like it pains me with the bloodline and having Roman as champ and stuff, I think it's something. I think that'd almost be fan service, because a lot of people have waited for it for so long. But then it's like you've got to get her out of a feud. You've probably got to put a title on her as well if she's going to be in the bloodline, because of everything that's going on with them. It's just it's who do you take a title off of? Well, I suppose you could take the SmackDown title, take it off Liv. I don't know. It depends what they want to do with booking, but for that you're looking at least after Mania, I would have guessed. I think they've kind of got everything sort of set in place until then.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing, especially with you reckon with Sasha and Naomi, obviously the idea they wanted to stick together as a team and stuff. You imagine the story they've got for now. I mean, obviously it's the common is saying long term, but long term thinking. But obviously in the short term, they're going to want to be a team. They want to go and do the story. And the thing is, that's what they need, isn't it? They need the story. I mean, the thing is, Sasha's won multiple championships over her career. To have a good story, I think, is something that's definitely going to drive and give some interest in them coming back.
It's the reason why they left. So if that's what it should be, is the creative, because you don't want superstars walking out. And I think that like you get the feels from reading the dirt sheet that everyone in WWE just seems to genuinely be a lot happier now. Like it almost felt like you were walking on a knife's edge when Vince was in charge. And it just seems to be like almost like how NXT was run. Like it just seems to be like everyone's enjoying their job. Everyone's enjoying their wrestling. Yes, you may have one or two that are disgruntled because of, I don't know, long-term booking or just generally not having a spot. But then, like I said, I'm quite happy with how the direction WWE is going at the minute.
Same. Since Triple H has taken the helm, you can't. No wrestling promotion is perfect. There will be booking flaws here and there in different places, but I'm much more content. I'm much more excited. Raw and SmackDown feels so much more refreshed, so much more enjoyable. And in fact, we are getting these surprises, returns here and there as well. We seem to get one on average once every 3 or 4 shows at the minute. And obviously, we had Braun last week. There's a space open this week, and it'd be for the women's division as well. Could be interesting if Sasha and Naomi were to come back this week.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's shocking how stacked the women's division is. If you just took a look at them in general, like, just how many really good wrestlers are in the WWE women's locker room, it's unbelievable. I mean, even people like Rhea at the minute, who's doing her thing with Judgment Day and completely, she was dominating Dominic Mysterio, now she just seems to be in charge of him. It's a stacked division all across the board. And then you go into NXT and, like, 2.0 is not my favorite, and like some of the female stars need to be addressed there, because for me personally, I don't think they have individual characters. I think they're all kind of generic and look the same. There's a few down there, like for instance, Nikita Lyons, Cora Jade, Roxy, Toxic Attraction, Mandy Rose. Do you know what I mean? They've all kind of got their own spots now. Even Saraya, but Saraya needs to lose this whole thing that Vince decided to put her in, whatever it was with the medallion that just seems like a cheap 90s ploy rip-off of an old TV show or something. But otherwise, the women's division on this brand is just stacked. And like I said, I'm really excited for it. And now, like I said, if we can get this tag division and more emphasis on it, and like, I would almost like to, like, I don't want to see the NXT tag team titles and the women's tag team titles merged. But then again, I think in the future that may be a possibility, just to get obviously more crossover with NXT again. I don't think I actually remember any NXT team holding the women's tag team championships before they got their own. So I think if you was to merge them and you could possibly just make it like a free branded title, I think it could be really good going forward.
Yeah, potentially. I think long term that'd be pretty cool. I remember Bailey and Banks going down not multiple times to NXT, but I don't remember any NXT teams holding those championships. And obviously, it's a good way to expose them to a Raw or a SmackDown for a few weeks to see if they could get over. And obviously, we've seen Toxic Attraction have had a couple of SmackDown appearances. Just being in that tournament could help them long term. But let's move on. We've got a lot of questions in, and obviously, Ed Vice, we said not the biggest 2.0 follower, but who do we think is under the red hoodie in NXT?
You'll have to explain that one to me, because I haven't watched it. I haven't watched NXT in a long while. I normally catch the YouTube clips, but I haven't watched it in the last 2 weeks just because obviously of everything going to Cardiff. I don't know what happened.
To be honest, actually, I am not as big a follower of this either. So I was hoping that you'd have a bit more insight for me. So Ed, is there something I've actually missed here with the red hoodie?
I saw the question and I was trying to Google it while we was talking. The only thing that comes up is the one where it was Christian Young veterans that were working for Joe Gacy. I've not seen anything come up about it, and I'm surprised I didn't see anything on it. Like, well, I said I haven't watched it this week, so I wouldn't really know. But as a shocker, maybe Ilya Dragunov. I know he's supposed to be injured, but if he was going to do someone, he's the NXT UK champion that never lost the title. So, do you know what I mean? That would be a good way to introduce him to NXT. That would get a massive crowd reaction as well.
Absolutely. If you're not getting someone, I mean, that's the thing I would say. If you're looking to bring someone into a brand right now, someone from NXT UK that hasn't been released would be something that could maybe be of interest. But at the same time, to have someone, I don't know, that is in the PC, someone that we don't know before. Like we had a load of faces that we'd never seen before that have come into 2.0 throughout the period. So it can also be someone that we've never seen before as well. So with 2.0, it's always harder to say who is that person under there. But we'll have to wait and see as it will be. But to go in a bit more detail with it, there's just someone walking behind people in shots in a red hoodie. So I'm guessing it's some storyline. So there we go. It's a potential. We've got here Grayson Waller as a potential possibility from Destroyer. Thank you, Destroyer, by the way, for joining us here. But we have to wait and see who it would be. I've got no idea at this stage.
So what is it? Is it just someone in the background of segments, or is it someone like in the crowd, or what? Because as I said, I've not I'm sure they would have normally made a bigger deal out of it, unless they're trying to play the whole Dexter Loomis thing and like be really nonchalant about it and just really make it kind of like just a throwaway thing. But like I said, I can't personally find anything online. I mean, I'm on the WWE website and there's just nothing on there either. It's a really strange one for me because I've not actually seen anything about it.
It shows that you need to pay attention to everything going on, even in the background at this point, because that's the speculation that can come. And Ariel Hawani, by the way, was the interview that Triple H had with for BT Sports. So thank you, Ed, for giving that.
That's actually that interview with that Triple H interview is. I'll tell you what, it choked me up when he was talking about how like everything that happened to him and how he nearly lost his life and stuff, and everything he went through to have like I think essentially he's got a pacemaker fitted. And go and give it a watch, man, because like I said, it's a really touching thing, and I think it's a case of it makes you really appreciate that he's still here, because by the sounds of it, he was almost like from when he says in the interview that he was on the verge, like he was days away apparently from almost dying. I think just makes me have a new appreciation for him now. Kind of like say with Edge returning, it's the same thing.
I have to say 100% agree. And it's a fantastic interview, but that part there, like you say, it's very touching. May just appreciate his, and makes you appreciate your own as well, because we're only here for a short time. We've got to maximize and make the most of it. And obviously, we're very thankful that Triple H has pulled through it. And obviously, he's gone on. He's 100%. And what he's doing now, it's incredible. We're pleased to see what he's doing each and every week. So, fantastic. C Nation's with us. C Nation, thank you for joining us. There's Sasha Banks and Naomi should re-earn the women's tag team titles because they were unprofessional when they left the arena. I do agree they have to earn those tag team championships. You can't just be given them. Bama Davis says, that is the question. How will Triple H handle things? We can't assume that what has been the normal with Vince is what he will do. And like we said there with Triple H there, I mean, he's changing the game. Pun intended.
We're still getting used to pay-per-view bookings because, like you said, when we was doing the Clash predictions, and you turn around and went, my head is going with Vince booking, and whoever stands tall is losing the pay-per-view. And it was like, I know what you mean with Vince for 30 odd years. That's my logic. Whoever's like, it's just always been away, but it's just so unpredictable now. So it gets me excited. Like I said, Raw's on tomorrow night. I'm actually really excited to watch it. Even though we are going to get Dominic Mysterio fighting Edge, but it's like, it's not going to end up being clean. And I'm like, I just want to see what happens, man. I'm actually really buzzed for Raw now.
It'll be exciting to see how it's going to go down. Like we said there, how would he handle things? How would he handle these things? Will, as James suggested earlier on, should it be a situation that Sasha and Naomi handle the business instead? I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see if and when they do return, because it looks like it will be when rather than if at this stage. James Edwards says, Toxic Attraction in this mix makes all the better. I'm not found that Toxic Attraction are getting a taste of the main roster. Obviously, they lost on SmackDown this past week, which maybe some wouldn't be a fan of. But the fact they've not got Mandy Rose to complete that trio, I think, protects them, and that's why they could happily take that loss this past week on SmackDown.
Yeah, I think keeping Mandy away also is another reason why, because obviously if Mandy's there, then you would feel that they should win. But then, like I said, he's doing such a good job with building Raquel at the minute. And it's like Toxic Attraction were tag team champions in NXT. It's not like they can't take a loss. And let's be honest, Raquel is recently from NXT, where she has dominated that entire roster, including JC Jane, Gigi Dolan. So it's not like they don't have history that they could play off with those two. But yeah, like I said, again, an established tag team. Like I said, want to see these two come up. And like once Mandy, well, if eventually she finally loses that NXT Women's Championship, I'd like to see her come back up and have these three be a faction. And it's like, just start doing what New Japan does, really, and just like get these people on TV more and like have these factions. Because, like I said, we wouldn't see half of these half the time if they weren't in factions.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, factions it gives you more to work with, doesn't it? You've got easy ways to access. Well, this person from this faction will take on the top person from this faction next week. You've got tag teams, you've got gang warfare, you've got so much you can do with it. So it does make all the excitement. But as for Mandy Rose, Halloween Havoc is my prediction when she drops that championship.
I don't know, because I've been saying it for every time she's had a match. I'm like, yeah, Mandy's losing. Triple threat with Satomura and Davenport. Yeah, Mandy's losing and she's winning. And I'm like, oh my God, she's getting an amazing run out of this title. I think she's actually quite close to becoming the longest reigning. But
now.
Like I said, I think Mandy's deserved this as well, because she's another one of these NXT call-ups from the Vince era that just hasn't accomplished anything and is now sort of they're rewriting the wrong with these people. Sonya's another one that needs to win a championship. It's a shame Ruby's gone, because I believe if Ruby was there, Ruby would have probably got a better push under Triple H. But yeah, it's just like it's righting so many wrongs over the years with Mandy.
It is indeed, absolutely. Destroy says, what up, Destroy? Hope you're doing well. Thanks for checking out the video. As well, Noob says, Naomi joining the bloodline makes more sense. I totally agree with the two at this particular moment. If one of them was to ever turn heel on the other one, and Naomi being a part of the bloodline, you said she can win championships. There's a lot of mileage you could do out of that story.
Yeah, it makes more sense. And like I said, it'd be an interesting dynamic to actually see Sasha be the face that doesn't know is coming kind of thing, whereas I think we've seen her do it so many times before on people. It would be more exciting that way.
Absolutely, indeed. There, C Nation says Raquel Rodriguez is about to have the third bad women's tag team title reign, because both her NXT title reigns were bad too. Well, the first one lasted an hour.
Yeah, and the second one was a day.
And the second one was a day, and this third one, at least it's a week or a couple of weeks the third time. So it's an improvement.
Let's be fair, when she was NXT Women's Tag Team Champion, I think it was Dakota that actually got pinned both times. So I can't really blame Raquel for that one. But like I said, then maybe they're doing a whole Dakota's jinxed and she can't keep tag team title gold for long. I don't know.
You never know. You never know with WWE. Naomi was here in 2015 when she was in Team Bad. That's a good point there. Thank you, Sination, for bringing it up there. That's yeah, I remember Team Bad, and obviously Team Bad technically it's what they are now. If it's Naomi and Sasha Banks, obviously they just need Tamina to make the trio.
Yeah, do you know what? Until someone said it, I'd completely erased that from my mind. But yeah, you could. Like I said, I don't have particularly anything off the top of my head I can even think of to remind myself of that being a good storyline. I've got more positive memories of Naomi being a face than a heel. Like I said, I know I remember Team Bad, but it's just couldn't tell you who or what they've arrived. I know there was like some triple threat that like 9-person tag match or whatever, but like I said, I think PCB was one of the other ones.
Yes,
Paige, Charlotte, and Becky. And then wasn't the other one like the Bella Twins and someone else? Like I said, that's about all I remember from it.
I sadly can't remember the last member either. Destroy here says, bro, someone needs to take that title off Liv. She's greener than Ashley was in 2006, and her character is that she's been wrestling her entire life. That's really sad when compared. I don't know if that continues on. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think Extreme Rules is probably going to be the likely destination at this point. We know Ronda Rousey is the #1 contender. There's no way Liv is getting out this another time at this point unless it becomes a triple threat match. That I think that Liv's reign as champion, the days are counting down now.
Yeah, it's sad to see. I mean, I would like to have seen. It's just unfortunately bad booking with Liv. She's like the SmackDown roster at the time when she won, just had no major heels. Charlotte was gone. There was only Ronda Rousey, so she was kind of like lumbered with really poor booking, and even the things that they did with the likes of the tap out with the roll up pin and all that kind of stuff, and it was just like she's not had the best run, and I think she needs a reset. In the future, like I said, I would love to see her win the title again, but this time, just again restart this one and just build it up again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I think if you go back to I would say first of all, I'm a fan of Liv Morgan. I want to see her succeed. But what I would say is that I liked her story where she was spending time growing as a competitor. Obviously, you saw the feud with Becky Lynch at the turn of the year. I thought her winning Money in the Bank was the right call. I just think her cashing in on the same night just didn't make sense. And then obviously the cashing on Ronda Rousey, you need to do the rematch. Then you realize, hang on, it's Liv Morgan against Ronda Rousey. It's not believable for a lot of the audience that Liv Morgan can win that match, and that's why, as the story kind of says, it exposes her more. People see the flaws more. And the thing is now everyone thinks, well, after what happened at SummerSlam, fans started turning. You've got the match with Shayna Baszler, which I don't think everyone was entirely into as a story, even though I think both women tried the best. Shayna isn't back to Shayna Revolt at this moment and has gone through some questionable booking as well on the main roster. So I can see why people have turned on Liv, and I just think she would have benefited so much being like Austin Theory right now, still having that briefcase and holding it to, say, Royal Rumble season.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. I mean, why they can't book that Money in the Bank briefcase for longer than a day with any woman aside from Carmella. And they even botched the Carmella one. Remember where they had James Ellsworth win it for her?
Yeah,
and it was like it's been a a flawed gimmick since it was ever introduced, and it's just a shame. But yeah, I'm the same as you. She should have kept hold of it. Saved it for a big moment like Mania or something, cashing at Mania or Rumble or whatever, just on one of the big four. I think would have done a lot more to her than just the same night. But unfortunately, that was Vince McMahon booking at the time, and it's just same old. Because I can imagine he didn't care for it. It was just a case of well, you can cash it in tonight and win.
I mean, the pop on the night was incredible, but what's followed it. You can't argue with the pop on the night, but what followed it, I think, is what's let it down. And sadly, I think that's why a lot of people are looking forward to her dropping the championship. But it is what it is, and we'll have to wait and see how it will progress. But Bama Dave says, interesting question. Since Sasha became the boss character, has she ever truly been a babyface? The character has only heel tendencies, expected to turn on Naomi, but I hope Naomi turns. I would say I do think there has been babyface. They have turned her back to heel numerous times, but she has played the babyface role.
Yeah, well, especially when it was when she was teaming with Bayley as the tag team champs. That 1 month run, unfortunately, for as long as it was, she was a face the entire time, and she played it really well. And like I said, I think it helps with Sasha that she has a proper baby face character like Bayley to bounce off of to really help her. But it's just like certain people just play better heels than faces. So I don't know, maybe going forward, Naomi's quite a natural face. So yeah, I expect him to do really well. So it's just a case of we'll wait and see with this one. But yeah, she can play the baby face. It's just, will they do it? That's the point.
I think, that's the big question at this point. Newman says, well, Rhea Ripley is the leader of Judgment Day, even though she's in her 20s. Age is just a number. And the thing is, I wouldn't say leader, but she seems to she stands out in the group. I think that's definitely something we could say.
I'm still pushing for Rhea Ripley as future Intercontinental Champion. That's my bookie, man. I'm telling you, man. China's done it. Rhea Ripley, she could probably kick most of the guys' asses on that roster. Rhea Ripley for Intercontinental Champion 2023.
I would love to see it. And just because this video seems to be themed around Sasha Banks as well. And like I said, I did watch Survivor Series 2021 earlier today. There was a brief exchange in that women's Survivor Series match of Rhea against Sasha. And I couldn't help but think, damn, that'd be a good sort of 20-minute match if they could put that together with a good story. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, and with them two especially, you wouldn't need a gimmick. They could actually just have a really, really good wrestling match. I think that'd be really entertaining.
I can indeed. New also says you mean Serena. Of course, you're referring to Sailor Moon was the reference from the
Sailor
90s
Moon. My
show.
apologies, yeah.
So there we are. But no, Noob, thanks for correcting us. We always would like to be corrected if we do get anything anywhere. Destroyer says Braun returning was really big because he can go anywhere on the wrestling card. He remained an undercard highlight before his push in 2017, then went to the mid card before a brief main event run. I mean, obviously with Braun, we've had a big discussion on Braun earlier this week, and we said at the time that we were okay with him coming back. We're not the biggest Braun fans, but we kind of felt the way he came back, destroying the entire tag team division, didn't seem the most logical route. Obviously, now we've had SmackDown pass this week, and I did think, and I still believe as well, he ultimately will be going for Roman Reigns in the Bloodline at Crown Jewel. But at the same point right now, he did just go for Alpha Academy again, who randomly just turned up on SmackDown as well. Do you see, obviously, I think Destroy is correct, by the way. He can go anywhere on the wrestling card. If they want to push him against Roman, they can. If they want him against Lashley or if they want him against whoever, they can do it. But do you feel that he's been sort of directionless in week one since coming in, and we're going to have to be more patient to see where the long-term goal is for Braun Strowman?
Yeah, I mean, when SmackDown happened and Alpha Academy come out, and I was like, is that your serious booking for Braun Strowman is to have him destroy tag teams to try and make him look stronger than you need to? Because everyone knows he's a massive guy and he's strong, and we've seen his stuff in the past. He's not like he's a new character to us. It was just really it was just really strange. And then with, like we were talking before about the stuff on Raw, like when I was watching the Wrestling Report earlier, and they were talking about it, and they were talking about how the end of the SmackDown show, you had the Street Profits come out, and it was like, my brain just instantly switched back to Raw, and I was like, yeah, he's right. Why did they have him destroy the Street Profits? They should have had him destroy the New Day and protected the Street Profits. So then the whole story would have made more sense at the end of SmackDown. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of this destroying tag team things. I think, especially Gable, because Gable's been doing some great stuff lately, some great character work. If he's going to destroy tag teams, then I don't mean it in the nastiest way, but you've got people like Los Lotharios there. They're essentially doing, well, look at what they're doing in a minute with Maximum Male Models. Don't get me wrong, it's funny and it's hilarious, and I enjoy watching it because it's funny. But they're not exactly in a position where a loss is going to do them any harm. These are the guys that can lose to Braun Strowman and be absolutely fine afterwards. But with Chad Gable, I just feel like you're destroying all the hard work he's put into this Alpha Academy gimmick in the last 6 months.
Well, that's the thing. They've essentially become more of a jobber team again in recent times. They have been taking a lot of L's recently on Raw, and also we've seen them on SmackDown. Obviously, I think as well they're trying to do an impressive spot for Braun Strowman as well, doing the power bomb on Otis. Which, let's be fair, I mean, some people liked it, some people didn't. But at the same time, I think it's as good as anyone can power bomb Otis. To be fair, he's not a small dude. So, like, you know, at the same time, I get it, but I want to see a bit more purpose and direction going into next week.
The only thing I can think of is if they're going to do something like have Gable Stevens be part of Alpha Academy and Braun's first challenge or competitor is Gable Stevens, and we just see these two go completely hoss on each other and just absolutely batter the living hell out of each other like Gunther and Sheamus did. Like, that kind of makes sense because of Stevenson's background, and Alpha Academy and what their whole thing is. I just don't want to see Chad Gable get destroyed after everything he's done. But yeah, bring Gable Stevenson in and have Braun feud with Gable Stevenson as part of Alpha Academy.
Interesting. I mean, the thing is, well, they are looking for a third member, so you could be onto something. You could be onto something. As Nation says, it's hard to book Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks as babyfaces because of their characters. People just don't seem to like Charlotte Flair, but I think I always was okay when she did the babyface run, but she does do better work as a heel.
Sasha Banks as a wrestler,
yeah.
Sorry, as a wrestler, Charlotte Flair is amazing, and she will go down as one of the best in ring for wrestling. But yeah, it's just like I said before, some of them just do better as heels, and unfortunately, Charlotte and Sasha are two of those.
Absolutely. Although they've had some good moments as babyface as well. I suppose you could you can agree though. Perhaps they've done some of their better work as heels. Destroyer says you got to put they got to put some people together for teams. A lot of dudes just floating around in the mid card. Also, the women's tag titles could be disposed for the purpose of card organization. I mean, the thing is, like, if you combine those women's tag team titles from NXT and WWE, then obviously, like you said, you've got the floating thing what we discussed earlier. But to go on that top point there, which is definitely a focus there, do you think that with the people that are around in catering right now, that the idea could be best for them to be paired together as tag teams? We've seen a few makeshift teams of late. We've got the Miz and Ciampa, for example. We've got Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander. Could they do more of this with other talents?
Absolutely. That, or bring, like, especially because a lot of the guys are smaller people. Like I said, bring back the Cruiserweight Championship, because then I think, like, as an opener, if you have if you go to a house show and you have a Cruiserweight match on, that really gets the crowd fired up and stuff like that. And you've got Ricochet going up against Mustafa Ali. I know Ricochet, everyone wants better for him, but because of his size, he would fit perfectly in that division. Triple threat, Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali, Ricochet, Cruiserweight Championship would absolutely tear any house down. But yeah, he's right. They should just stick these people together. Just like if you've got no creative direction for them, have them as tag teams. At the end of the day, a tag team run is better than not doing anything and sitting in catering all day. And like I said, if it's always been fun to like, I remember when you used to get like 4-way tag team matches. Like, do TLC again and just have 4 teams. Reinvent the TLC match. Do the 2023 version with teams like Cedric Alexander and Mustafa Ali.
Well, it's a way to get them over. It's a way to get them on the map. But it's funny you mention that because I think the Stream Rules, we could be getting a TLC match. I've just got a feeling.
I'm excited for that now.
It could be also Street Profits. It's just my feeling because if they're going to do it again, I feel I've seen it too many times. But if they bring TLC in or a ladder at some point, that I think could make sense. But if anyone's seen the fantasy booking video I did earlier in the week, I suggested the idea of Johnny Gargano against Austin Theory in a ladder match with the Money in the Bank contract above the ring. But yeah, I don't know.
Ramon Michaels vibes that when you say that.
Yeah, it does a little bit. And it reminds me of Ziggler and Cena as well from 2012. I kind of borrowed the idea. Borrowed, we'll say. Joe Gacy is essentially dissolved from TV, which is unfortunate. He still is around, but it's not doing as much as what he was doing. But looks to have a bit of a minor feud going with Cameron Grimes. Obviously, Grimes is not going to be joining the group, but hopefully they should have their match up very, very soon. Would you be interested in the Joe Gacy-Cameron Grimes feud?
In ring, yes. Character-wise, apart from Joe Gacy's entrance music, I've never really been sold on the character because he's not done anything. He's not picked up big wins anywhere. His whole feud with Bron Breakker, he just lost entirely, and then he would drag him away, and it was like I feel he's almost kind of like how the Wyatt family used to be at the minute. Like so much hype behind him and so much great character work, but then he just never got any results.
That's the bit. The potential of Joe Gacy is incredible, but I will say, like you said there, he's not winning enough matches, but he does have the grizzled young veterans under his wing at the moment, and obviously they've got new names at this particular moment, which again, sometimes names escape me for whatever reason, but I would like to see the grizzled young veterans back as they were. I'd like Joe Gacy to get different members of a group, or just to be on his own on a Raw or SmackDown. I do think with potential, if they could get behind a gimmick like that, they could definitely create some controversy and could create some cash off of it as well. Because Joe Gacy is someone that's a standout. It's not just someone you'd forget instantly on your TV set.
Bring Bray Wyatt back and have Gacy as part of the Firefly Funhouse. Have those two as like two supernatural characters together that can ultimately some point down the line lead to a feud and then split in. And like, I just think those two can do some weird stuff together.
I'm going to 100% agree with that. They definitely do some weird stuff together. And I'll be down for it as well. Nubico says, well, that's one thing. What's one thing you guys want Triple H needs to be undone? I believe that Asuka definitely needs a WrestleMania moment because her character needs a major series rework before 2022 is over. So that's what Noob would say. Silk, what would be yours?
Bobby Roode as glorious Bobby Roode. I want glorious Bobby Roode. I've been waiting for years for it. And they bring him out on SmackDown and he's smiling. And I'm like, this isn't glorious Bobby Roode. This is fake Bobby Roode. I don't want to see this.
It did hurt. It did hurt. I feel that I almost want to agree with it. It's that darn good, that one. But for me, just give me the Grizzled Young Veterans back. That's what I'm going to say. I've had the shoes off on the live stream before. I don't need to do it again. You know where I stand on this. I need the Grizzled Young Veterans back because Gibson is money.
Yeah, like I was watching Jonesy earlier and he was saying Zach Gibson on the mic is absolutely phenomenal and he's such a great heel and he's so entertaining and like it was just a shame they never won the NXT tag titles. That's my one burden with them is they should have been the ones to take them off MSK and it never happened.
Absolutely. Fingers crossed. Bama says, how did they miss this with the red hoodie? We're not paying attention enough as Ed. Ed has got eyes on the prize. He's all over the NXT set, knows what's going on our screens, what's going on behind in segments. I vaguely feel, though, since the last time I mentioned it, I remember seeing a red hoodie somewhere. But, when you feel like I've not paid enough attention to give a valid answer.
I'm gonna have to watch NXT now and find out what happened. I'm gonna have to go out and watch it now and try and find it and see what it is.
Ed, you're making ratings raise for NXT, and that's the goal. That's what he wants. He wants higher ratings for NXT, and darn it, he's going to get it from at least one or two more people. Ed Price says, did we hit 4K hours, Steve? We are close, my friend. Now, here's what happened yesterday, because I saw the hours going up, and I was getting very excited and thinking, we're going to hit it. We're going to get the monetization. We're there. And then all of a sudden, you have to get 4,000 hours over a space of a year. The video that went off today from the last year did pretty well. So we're back to where we still need like another 10, 12 hours or so. So this is the annoying part. You need to have gained it more. So we're close. We're on the cusp of it happening. Honestly, it's one of the reasons why I felt we need to get another live stream going, because I felt like we'd done it yesterday. And once I saw I had some extra hours on StreamYard, I was like, damn it, we're getting on in. We're going to go for it. So anyone can spare time to watch an SCW video at the moment really goes a long way. It will help hit the monetization goal. I'm really thankful for everyone that continues to support this channel, that is spending time watching videos, liking videos, sharing with friends. It really, really does mean a lot. So I do appreciate it. And Ed, I appreciate you asking. Fingers crossed this may help us get over the line. We'll go to our next comment then, coming from C Nation. Says, fun fact, Bron Breakker and Ilya Dragunov are only people to beat Gunther Walter in WWE. So Gunther Walter has a good winning percentage in WWE. Darn right, he's got a good percentage. And those are the only people to beat him. I wonder who will be next. But you're shaking your head no. Who else?
Nope. Pete Dunne's beat him.
When was that?
I'm pretty sure Pete Dunne beat him in his first defense of the NXT UK Championship. Let me just double check that, because I'm pretty sure it took Walter's second attempt to beat Dunne for that NXT UK title. Let me just check. If that's true, though, that is the most mad stat that only two people have ever actually beat him.
He's been well protected, that's for sure.
Walter. Trying to find Walter. Here we go. Austrian one. That's the one. But yeah, go on. Yeah, like I said, yeah, that's the maddest actual stat. My God, he doesn't lose. It's just win, win, win. Oh man, I love to see it. Let's just go to all, and let's just go back. Like literally, just looking down one side, and it's like this Bron Breakker. He's lost to televised. Yes, he's only lost to Bron Breakker, but it says here he's on loads of live shows he's lost. But I'm going to try and find a loss on TV. NXT TV UK, he lost a tag match.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. Nope, he did.
Yeah.
But and he's also the one pinned.
Probably not, but he has actually got a Monday Night Raw taping where he lost to Seth Rollins.
True story. And he lost at Survivor Series as well, didn't he? In a few minutes, I believe Drew was the one to pin him at Survivor Series 2019.
He was the first. He was the first eliminated. I think from I don't ever count tag matches as a column to losses. If you're looking at singles, though, it says here that he lost to Seth Rollins via DQ. Everything else before that isn't WWE. So yeah, you got three people to have legitimately beat him in the singles matches: Dragunov and Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker. Man, that's quite an impressive run for that guy. But I honestly thought Pete Dunne must have beaten him, but I guess I was wrong.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is as well, when he says these two in singles matches that have pinned his shoulders to the mat as well, which makes that fact correct.
Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, my apologies, man. I thought I said my brain obviously must be wrong. I was actually going to say to you something about Gunther as well. You watched SmackDown this week, didn't you?
I have, yes.
How good was the ring announcer when she introduced Imperium?
I loved it. I mean, everything about the opening segment for me was awesome.
The way she introduced them and how she spoke, like how they're pronounced in like Austrian and stuff, like "Your Intercontinental Champion Gunther," and I was like, "Oh, go ring announcer, man! You selling it for me alone." I was well impressed.
Absolutely, yeah, but it emphasizes the character, emphasizes what we're seeing on TV. You know, for me, like I said, what they're doing at the moment with Imperium, what they're doing with Brawling Brutes. I mean, at this point, they're going to turn the Brutes face. This is how good they're doing with all of it. So, I mean,
what Cardiff does to him, baby.
It is indeed.
He was already getting over.
Absolutely. C Nation goes on to say Toxic Attraction tag team have been losing lately. Mandy has been booked strong. The leader of the faction always looks the best, and that's very true. Always does look the best, but I'm sure Gigi and JC will go back to winning ways very, very soon. James says, I don't remember a bad takeover and look forward to each one. That's what I feel I'm starting to see since SummerSlam. And that's true. I mean, we feel like every show is unmissable. And even the points when you do look at your phone, Ed Fries reminds you there's something you need to see in the background. So literally, it's can't miss stuff at the moment. And like you said there, I don't remember ever a bad takeover. We're talking NXT UK, NXT. And to be fair, I think every Triple H WWE premium live event so far has been solid.
Yeah, takeovers always that's why I was a massive NXT fan, because takeovers were just so good. And like I said, if Triple H introduces his NXT way into the main roster, like we could have already seen it when we're getting Sheamus and Gunther going at each other. Wrestling is just getting better with WWE. I'm really excited for it.
It really is indeed there. Dave here says, Mandy Rose has caught the Trish Stratus mantle fully. She was a pretty face who was in laughable angles, and all of a sudden she became a much improved wrestler and credible champion. Love to see it. I've got to say, I think Mandy Rose has been putting on some good matches. She does get a lot of stick still for being in NXT, but to be fair, really, she's had a solid championship reign. She's mixed that up with the best in there, and she's coming out on top. And I think this comparison could be a very good comparison being made here by Dave.
Yeah, she like now, so now she's been booked well in NXT. This will transition over to Raw and SmackDown. She'll get a Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion and be able to carry it, because they will use NXT as canon now. So they will turn around and say, I imagine she'll be the longest running NXT Women's Champion by the sounds of it. And they'll, no, because she's never going to be Asuka, but she'll be like, I'm one of the longest reigning NXT Women's Champions. And it holds more. It just holds more in general when you're sitting there trying to apply to be a champion on Raw or SmackDown.
Absolutely indeed there. Tom Colahue is in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Says, evening all. I'm lurking for those precious watch hours. Hope you're good. We are very well, my friend. Please lurk away. You're doing us a massive favor by doing so, and hope you're having a great weekend as well. Ed Fry says, Tamina, Sasha and Naomi, and they all had the Street Profits theme. Why am I forgetting this?
That's true. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah, it was. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's so many times they've done that before, but yeah, I think they did actually.
There are no ones
That's
that get
be a
shared.
good one to go and check.
Yes, indeed. There, Alicia Fox was the other one with the Bella Twins back in 2015. By the way, thank you, James, for correcting us on that one.
Fair enough.
I still don't remember it, though. That's the thing. I still don't remember it. Bama Dave says, I think Liv will slowly turn heel and do whatever it takes to keep the title, or after seeing the exchange between Ronda and Shayna, Shayna might help Ronda win, and they injure Liv together very badly. That's a couple of ideas there from Bama. Both seem very intriguing, very interesting. Would you be a fan of either of those going down?
The Liv turning heel would be because she's been babyface forever. Even when she was part of Riot Squad, she was still always kind of like a babyface. She smiles too much. She needs to get serious and just frown more and have screw face and just like go vicious. But the problem is she's going against Ronda Rousey, and it's like, how do you turn someone like Liv heel against someone as an opposition like Ronda Rousey and make it credible? It's almost one of the most impossible things to do in booking.
This is the thing. This is the problem with this angle here, is that Liv Morgan's is booked into a corner again, and she's not going to come out looking great. She was so over at Money in the Bank time, and it's sort of fallen to the point that even the most diehard Liv Morgan fans are kind of already almost willing to concede now that she needs to do other things like turning heel, for example, or something has to happen for Liv Morgan to have a break from TV or something, because it's just not working out. And it's a shame, because if she has to turn heel, that's a fail, in my opinion, on WWE's booking, because they had someone that was really over and really connecting with the crowd this time a few months ago. And she was doing quite well in the merch department as well.
Yeah, it's like I've been saying for months on this channel, like she was always that one that got to like 99% of the way to becoming a champion and just always fell at that last hurdle. And like I said, when she won it, yeah, we all went mad for it. And it's just a shame that it's just gone Pete Tong somewhere. It's almost like, for me, it's gone how like Hangman Page's AEW run went as champion, and how who was the other one I was talking about earlier? Someone else who became champion in AEW and just fell apart. Like, yeah, just you get these people that they make them champion. And it's almost like they had no creative going forward after they gave them these belts. And it was like, did you not think this far ahead?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's how it's been, sadly. And fingers crossed something will happen. But I would just say of those two ideas there, Bama, I would like the second one more of the two. I don't want Liv to turn heel because, like I say, that would be admitting defeat that they've mucked up. And at least if she's injured and taken off TV for a while, she can return the capacity in a couple months down the line, and they can maybe quietly move her on to something else. But yeah, I'm not sure how they're going to get around it.
She needs the Mandy Rose treatment. She needs to go back to NXT, become NXT Women's Champion, and have a run down in NXT with some of that lot, and give herself a bit more credibility. So then, when she comes back up again, she'll be in a lot better position. And to exactly like how Mandy is now, Mandy's got credibility behind her. She can come to Raw, SmackDown, and be a Raw Women's Champion. Just do that with Liv. Same thing, rinse and repeat with that one.
It's not a demotion. That's all I'll say. It's not a demotion.
No, definitely not.
The only thing, I'll just come back to that last comment actually for a second there. The only thing you could do, you could write her off with the injury there and bring her back to win the Rumble. Could be an idea as well if you want to bring her back in to try and do a redemption story for her, give her a couple months break. But we'll have to wait and see how it will go down. But Bama's got another one for us. Says, I wish Triple H could have been in power so he could have made Cesaro the face of NXT Europe. Who's some of the talent you think should go there when it starts to give it a hot and strong foundation to build on? Fantastic question. I'm going to say I'm not so familiar with some of the top indie talent in amongst Europe at the moment. Unfortunately, my indie watching time is completely at a minimal right now. But is there anything you think that could be a good fit?
I'm trying to think NXT wise. I mean, if Jordan Devlin or JD is still in NXT 2.0 at that time, if he's become an NXT champion by that point, sending him over to Europe would be a great shot, especially obviously like how they did with Finn Balor when NXT UK started. It's just unfortunate that there's no one kind of like Walter available at the minute on the European scene. Not that I know of anyway, because when Walter came into NXT UK, it was such a big deal. But yeah, like I said, it's more of a case of using some of the established stars they've got that are European. So, for instance, Alba Fire, take her over there into Europe. Even people like Axiom, which I'll be honest with you, is possibly one of the worst names ever. But obviously, because of him being Spanish, take him over there. And obviously, I presume the plan is to tour Europe with this show and make it kind of like how Raw and SmackDown is over here, and just tour Europe with it. And yeah, I just think you just need to get them established stars in it to essentially draw in the crowds to start with.
That's the thing. I mean, you've got some of the big names, and obviously one that's been suggested here by James Stewart is the idea potentially of an Aleister Black coming back. Would be awesome. I personally would see him on a Raw or SmackDown myself, but I mean, like Bama said a minute ago as well, he is a Triple H guy. He will be back one day, I imagine. I mean, if he can get over the mental health stuff that he's going through right now, and let's hope that comes first. Let's hope he gets himself well. But if and when he's ready to return, that he'll probably go back to WWE. He could be a good shout. If they did have Cesaro, I think he would have been a good shout as well. I think that definitely would have been some top European names. And like you said, if they share some of the top names in there with some of the young up-and-coming talent, they could make NXT Europe a bigger deal.
If they'd have still had a Cesaro, I would have liked to have seen what AEW did with Jericho. Have Cesaro as the first ever European champion for NXT Europe. Have this hot established young talent that is brand new to NXT Europe, or is just like an up-and-comer, and then have him in the Jericho position and have these two in the main event of the first ever takeover in Europe, and have Cesaro win it, and just you say he could have gone around Europe just being champion for the first few months, because obviously he would have been a big name, would have been the draw for the card. But yeah, Cesaro would have been a great shout. But I'm the same as you with Black. If Black ever goes back to WWE, he's Raw or SmackDown banned, because to me he's too big of a name to be in NXT Europe.
The only thing I could say that maybe it could work as an option, I remember his first match. I believe it was the NXT Takeover Blackpool when they did the first ever inaugural NXT UK champion, where Tyler Bate won the championship, and they brought Pac in, or at the time Neville, if you remember, to take on Tommy End in the match. Yeah. And that's a way to try and make. I think if NXT Europe is going to work this time round, yes, these stars can be people that could be over on Raw or SmackDown, but if they can bring them over to have performances in NXT Europe, even if it's few and far between, but you've got someone always knocking about, and when it comes to the big shows, those stars are a part of it. I think there is a chance that NXT Europe could get bigger.
Yeah. Absolutely. Just another thing on Aleister Black as well. I was actually, I was telling you before that I've only ever attended sort of 3 live shows for WWE ever. One of them just so happened to be Aleister Black's debut as Aleister Black. He was on a Sunday night heat taping for the Raw. So it was his first match against who is not Matt Cardona, the other one.
Brian Myers. Of course,
Myers,
that would be Kurt Hawkins.
Kurt Hawkins, yeah. He had Kurt Hawkins versus Aleister Black in his first match televised on TV. And it was like, yeah, this guy was sold. I was sold from Aleister Black from that point, and that was the first time I'd ever actually seen him properly.
I would love the opportunity to see him live at some stage if he does return back to the ring, and fingers crossed he does and feels healthy when he does so. Dave says, for starters, let's get the Grizzled Young Veterans to wake up and be the first tag team champions over there for NXT Europe. Certainly would not be against that. That would be good to see. They were NXT UK tag team champions as well, so would be happy to see that. James Stewart also says here, who pinned Volta? Of course, it was Volta at that time at Survivor Series a few years back. I believe it was Drew McIntyre. We'll try and do a Google search for you and find that out properly in a couple of seconds' time. But Ed Fries also says, put SCW videos on loop if you need it in the background, guys. Come on, let's get Steve monetized. Thank you so much, Ed. That really does mean a lot. And thank you for that support. It really, really does mean a lot. Also, Tyler Bates beat him on TV non-title before TakeOver Cardiff, says Ed Fries as well, with Volta's losing streak. Obviously, we're going back about 20 minutes now when saying that. So that's another defeat that Volta did have in WWE. So yeah, there's a few times that Volta has suffered defeat in WWE, but not always by pinfall. That's interesting. David,
sorry, I'm still trying to find it, but yeah, carry on, mate.
Not a problem. Samantha Irvin is becoming my favorite ring announcer. I love her passion and her energy. Bama, I have to agree with that. She certainly has got a lot of passion and energy with what job she does on SmackDown, and she's doing an awesome job. James says that Liv needs an edge, even a bit of cheat to win would do, and maybe that is. I mean, there's a couple of people suggested this now. Maybe that is the way to go. Maybe she finds a way to cheat to hold the championship. Because I mean, to be fair, Adam Pearce is playing the heel GM. It feels now with Ronda Rousey. Maybe he's in cahoots with Liv Morgan to help her have this edge. Maybe get a cheating side out of Liv to retain her championship. Maybe that could be the way. And instead of actually this idea where people think that Ronda and Shayna are going to be teammates, maybe that's the other thing that could keep Liv to retain, by the way. Maybe it's not Liv that's with Adam Pearce. Maybe it's Shayna Baszler gets her killer instinct through advice from Adam Pearce going after Ronda Rousey. Maybe that's the way to kickstart that feud.
That's true, because yeah, if I remember correctly, they were talking about it at the start of SmackDown, weren't they, about Adam Pearce and like how he was like, they were saying something like that he's overstepped his authority and all this kind of stuff. So it's not actually a bad shout at all. But yes, just to confirm, it was Drew McIntyre. He used a Claymore and defeated him in the first 3 minutes, apparently, which was absolutely criminal.
That's Vince McMahon for you. Speaking of this comment here, a bit of cheat to win would do for Liv Morgan. Someone needs Eddie Guerrero vibes, although it's not for Liv. I have to agree with that. It's probably one of my favourite comments so far. Thank you for that, James.
I told you before, it's Dominic Mysterio needs Eddie Guerrero vibes.
Absolutely. That was on the Tuesday stream there. If anyone's not checked that out, I do highly recommend to do so. Bamadone says, babyface thrive in the chase. Heels thrive as the unbeatable champion. I agree with Steve. Liv getting beat down by Ronda and Shayna, and that losing the title by being double teamed would be better of the options that Bama gave earlier on. We've got so many different scenarios now for Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey. Where I said at the start of the video that it was a foregone conclusion that Ronda now win this title back, I'm now not so sure.
Would it maybe work to the point that they have Liv get beat down by both Shayna and Ronda, that she is injured and unable to defend the title, so it has to be vacated? Would that be better?
See, I'm never a fan of. If you, not to speak on AEW's side very quickly, but we've seen so many vacation of titles over there and interims and all this sort of stuff with championships. Yeah. I personally find it a bit messy. If Liv's going to lose it, I'd just lose it.
Yeah, but I think with this way, it would kind of work because we know it's a story and a narrative wise, whereas it's not. We're over in AEW, it's a legitimate injury. Yeah. I don't know, because the whole thing with WWE is that if you can't defend within 30 days, you're supposed to vacate the championship. So, and that's been like that for years.
Absolutely, yeah. Maybe it could work. Maybe we'd have to see how the story would play out. I think that's the best thing here. Yeah. But one thing's for sure, it's an interesting story. Actually, the more we think about this match, there's a lot of discussion points, and actually, it's been quite a big discussion point of this stream so far. But so I've got to ask you, what time is it?
10:15.
No,
it's
it's
Tino
Tino's time.
time.
It's Tino's
My
time.
bad.
Tino's time. It's taking over the stream once again. Hope you're doing well, Tina. Thank you for checking out the stream, my friend. Ed Francis here says, Dino Brown for NXT European Champion.
Oh, that guy lived with the European Championship around his waist.
He did. That was a beautiful time period as well. Ed, you're bringing back great memories just thinking about it. And speaking of NXT Europe, Imperium occasionally showing up. Yes, please. That's the sort of star power you need as well, because that would help NXT Europe massively.
How good was it to hear Sympathy number 9 at the start when they come out as well? I was so gassed for it when it come out. It was beautiful.
There's the only minor critique of is when it stopped. I was like, yeah, they've got the music back and it's going to stay. And it stopped. I was like, all right, it's not quite fully back, but I'll take for what we could get.
It gets that pop, and that gets that initial pop. But yeah, I didn't mind it, but I would have just loved it to have been Sympathy number 9. But I'll take what I can get at this point.
Absolutely, indeed. There, James saying, I think NXT Europe is Triple H longing to bring back the European title. I think he could be right, you know.
Yeah, and even it'd be actually great if they could actually use the old one as well, the original one that they had from the 90s, because just for a bit of nostalgia as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Please bring back the 90s one. I mean, I know it's very throwback and they like to modern things up a little bit, but just for the nostalgia, for us old timers. I'm not that old, but just for us old timers, it would be great. Scott Retro Wrestling, evening, gents. How would you film NXT Europe? Filming blocks in one European country first, or would it be one country per episode? Interesting question, this one. I like this one, Scott. Silk, I'll let you start.
I would go with how NXT used to be filmed. Film it 3 weeks at a time. So go to Italy, film 3 weeks. Then go to Spain, film 3 weeks. Go to Germany, film 3 weeks. France, 3 weeks. UK, film 3 weeks. Because in that way, you've got an opportunity to get... You can do it over the space of a week. You can get 3 different lots of crowds in for the 3 different days. And the good thing is if you can get 3 different crowds, the majority hopefully would be different from the night before. So you'll get different crowd reactions. You might miss continuity maybe, because if you're sitting there doing 3 recordings in one go, people turning up probably ain't got a Scooby as to what's going on. But yeah, just do it how NXT used to do, 3 weeks at a time. It worked for NXT back in the day, and I can't see why they couldn't do it again. Plus, I imagine with obviously the financial term of it, the cost of moving ring gear and stage and setups and props and all that kind of stuff, it would work out more better for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I think blocks would be the best way to do it, one European country rather than one per episode. Like you said, the continuity, especially if it was before it was on TV, I think people could get a little bit lost. So totally agree with that comment there. But like you say, I think Dublin could be a very strong potential of being a starting block of where it may start. Because with the United Kingdom, I think with the idea of Brexit, I think that plays its part into it as well. But like you said, Italy, you go to Spain, go to Germany, maybe Denmark. There's lots of different ideas of what you could do there. So, and the thing is, when we talk about this on top talents, people like Sheamus as well, the Brawling Brutes, get those people over for occasional appearances on these brands. And I think you could really make something happen. But make them the attraction. Don't make them the champion.
But the thing is as well with it is if you wanted to, if for instance NXT Europe wanted to do a monthly pay-per-view, you could genuinely do one in a different country every month. So you can have NXT TakeOver France, NXT TakeOver Spain, NXT TakeOver Germany, England, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, Denmark, Sweden. Do you know what I mean? You can literally generally have one every week, and it would give the European crowd something to go to and enjoy as well, instead of having to do like we normally do and set up till 1 o'clock in the morning waiting for the show to start.
Absolutely, I think there is actually some mileage if they do it right of how they can make this work. And more we talk about it on this stream, it seems to be quite a popular topic as well with a lot of the viewers and stuff. I think that we're starting to get ideas of what we might want from this NXT Europe going forward.
I was gutted that I never had the opportunity to go to TakeOver London. I was really hoping we would get Black and Gold TakeOver again in London. And then when UK was announced, and we never, even the UK one never did one in London because they were in Cardiff, they were in I think Blackpool. They did one in Blackpool and stuff like that, but they never did one in London, and I was absolutely gutted. And say, because I missed the original one, the Black and Gold version, absolutely gutted for it.
Absolutely, I would have loved to have seen it. Would have loved to have seen it if it
Mm.
had been a possibility at the time there. But obviously, I'm not opposed to the European travel either. But Bama says Imperium Acacia showing up in NXT Europe is a no-brainer. I think Nikki Cross and Doudrop could thrive as NXT Europe Women's Champions. Certainly, that would. I mean, the thing is, at the moment, those two we're saying that they're scrounging around backstage, not doing a lot, and when they are, they're losing on TV. Definitely feels like that could be an option.
Yes, it does. I mean, especially for Nikki, because I'll be honest with you, since she was Raw champion, I believe, I've just like not been sold on this whole Nikki ASH character. She needs to go back to being Nikki Cross. Same as Doudrop. They just need to change her name, even if it's just something like Piper or something. Or do you know what I mean? Just get rid of these silly. They're just the silly names. If I'm honest with you, I don't know. How they haven't changed Doudrop yet. I think is the biggest shock. Like I'm pretty sure she said she's happy with it, but I just like for me it takes away her credibility as a wrestler because she's a big woman, she's strong, she's powerful, and she's got such a silly name. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, when you've got people like Seth Rollins that are endorsing saying she's got the best entrance as well, it gets him hyped, the best theme music. It's not going to get it changed anytime soon. But like you say, menacing. She's incredible what she does in the ring. But I agree that the name change could make a big difference. Everybody's favorite sock puppet is in house. Socky, how are you doing? Thank you for checking out the stream. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to throw in a question or two. Happy to discuss anything sock pup related if you want. Scott Retro Wrestling says, I just watched NXT Arrival a few days ago and I worked out Sami Zayn is the only competitor on the show that still works for the company. Goodness. And obviously to go back when you look at that, I'm trying to think of all the names come rushing in the head very quickly. And I think he is right by saying that. It's amazing how things evolve over time, isn't it?
Yeah, that's actually kind of strange. I'm kind of Googling it now while we're talking about it. But yeah, that's
Woods is still there too. Xavier Woods is the other one. That's
okay.
There's two. There is two. But when you think of like Neville, Bo Dallas, you had the Ascension. Cesaro was on there.
It says here. It says the match cards were Mason Ryan defeated Sylvester Lafort in a dark match. Cesaro defeated Sami Zayn. Mojo Rawley defeated CJ Parker, who is now
Juice Robinson.
Juice Robinson, yep. Connor and Victor defeated Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty 2 Hotty. Paige defeated Emma. Xavier Woods defeated Tyler Breeze. Imagine that their friendship's still going to this day as well. That's mad. Yeah. And Adrian Neville at this point, because he had his first name, defeated Bo Dallas, who was champion at the time for the NXT Championship.
One of the few times I didn't have a problem with the first name being dropped. Not that there's anything wrong if you're called Adrian and you're watching this video. Just I felt that Neville seemed better. But what I will say is Emma might return at some point if rumours are to be believed. I think Madcap Moss even was being quoted as seen on Twitter today. The idea that he could be open or would like to see her return to WWE. So it'd be interesting to see. We try not to keep things political, but Nuba suggested not to film in Russia because of reasons and reasons. We agree. Let's go through and see what other questions we've got coming flying in. James Stewart says, Takeover London was awesome. Was my introduction to NXT. What a great way to brought in as well there. And that's jealous. There was a little bit jealous, James. We're not going to lie, but at the same time though, can't disagree either. They don't do bad takeovers. James says, I think a wrestler having a full name gives them more credibility. When they're reduced to a single name, I just feel it's easier to bury them. There are exceptions, of course. Yeah, there are exceptions, but I sort of do agree. I mean, when you think as well, like of all the name changes we had back in the days of people, I mean, it was Alexander Rusev, for example, Antonio Cesaro. Obviously, we've had the recent ones with Matt Riddle and Austin Theory being knocked down to one name as well. It just feels like, they having the names taken away, but
it makes them seem like they are fictional characters instead of real people, which is the whole point. But we're supposed to believe that these are real people, and they have these real feuds. But if you give them just one name, don't get me wrong, Rusev's not too bad if you take away Alexander. Antonio Cesaro, again, I would take more of Cesaro as a nickname, but yeah, when you get people like Matt Riddle, it's like, honestly, who's coming up with a character name of Riddle nowadays? I think giving them a full name just makes them more credible, like this message, this question here says.
Absolutely. Although there could be a different twist on the question as well, as Bama says here. There are other names like The Rock, Kane, Undertaker, China, Cesaro, to name a few that have been successful with the one name. So I think it's the way that you look at it.
One of The Rock and The Undertaker are 2 words. Thank you very much.
There you are, Bama. It's been said there for you. Ed says, I hope Madcap would want Emma back since they were dating. Did I not mention that? Perhaps I didn't mention. Yes, they are dating indeed. And yeah, it would be a little bit. Oh, I mean, you couldn't not be against Emma coming back in if you're not dating, but yeah, that would explain why he did perhaps say that in quote. Scott Retro Wrestling, would the Ilya Dragunov, poor spelling, I think you've done all right there, be the return episode 1 for NXT Europe, or do you feel he's already NXT 2.0 bound? Great question, this one, because in my opinion, looking at things, Dragunov, Triple H has been a big fan of Dragunov, and you would feel that he would want to give Dragunov a bigger platform eventually. He said, obviously, on that Irani interview that he did, that the whole goal is to be on Raw, SmackDown eventually. Dragunov has proved himself with NXT UK. Does he need to do NXT Europe, or should he perhaps move on to NXT 2.0 and start the evolution to get himself to a Raw and SmackDown where he can be working amongst Triple H each and every week?
As much as I would love to say bring him into Raw and SmackDown and have him be Gunter's worst nightmare, I think like this kind of plays into the almost like the Johnny Gargano. I know the reasons behind the Johnny Gargano return now, but like he needs a stint on American TV for people to know who he is, because I can't imagine many people watched NXT UK. Like, unless you watch the takeovers, for instance, when he was facing Gunther, Gunter, I always pronounce it wrong. You might not know who he is, but yeah, I think personally he needs the 2.0 run, and then bring him in to be Gunter's worst nightmare.
Be interesting. I mean, for me, I agree. 2.0 bound should be the place, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was a part of NXT Europe to begin with, Scott, because he is someone that could be a marketable name, as he was one of the faces having an unbelievable run in NXT UK before its stoppage.
If it depends on when you were going to return or introduce him. If you was to return him, for instance, at a pay-per-view where predominantly the crowd are probably going to be more hardcore fans, then the reaction would be a lot better. But if you say, for instance, bring Johnny Gargano, like they did with Johnny Gargano, for me personally, the crowd in Toronto was just a bit flat and just returned, didn't know who it was. I think you just get the same pop with Dragunov if you was to bring him back on TV. If it would need to be somewhere where like even for instance, like in a Chicago, where it's like it's a major wrestling crowd, then that way is the only way you could do it on the main roster.
Be interesting. Yeah, I think just to answer that question there, I think that depends on the length of time of that injury, but NXT Europe, I wouldn't be surprised. I would prefer 2.0, as Silk made some good points there and did have to agree with him. Bama Dave goes on to say here, as much as I love the Blackpool Combat Club, I hope eventually William Regal returns and makes NXT Europe his final major legacy. I feel like Triple H is paying homage to him by doing it this way. But will he bring Excalibur with him, please? Because I love the dirty talk they've got each and every week on Dynamite and Rampage.
I would personally love to see William Regal return. I would like to see him be an authority figure on Raw or SmackDown or both. Make him and Adam Pearce rival GMs and do it that way. But otherwise, bring him back to 2.0 where, like, I presume that's where he'd want to go, because I think he's got more fond memories of there. He's always been more about the future and stuff like that. And if the NXT talent would benefit more if he was there. Like, do you know what I mean? They'd benefit more from him being there than the other way around.
I can see what you mean there with that. I mean, for me personally, I wish he'd go back to his old duties and part of WWE. I agree with Bam. I'd love to see him back there. I'm enjoying what he's done in AEW. It's been fun, but let's be honest, if Triple H if this was how the running was of WWE now, William Regal would never have been let go where there'd been an opportunity for him to go to AEW. He would still be there. He'd still be doing what he's doing now, part of NXT, NXT UK and stuff like that, and obviously NXT Europe, to make that the final legacy. And I think there is some paying homage there, and I do think this would be a project I think would interest William Regal. And there is rumours about people wanting to leave AEW or seeing how WWE is the cooler option again. I wouldn't be surprised if Regal was to make the jump back when that contract does come up. But I wonder how long he's signed to AEW for. I could only speculate because I've got no idea.
Yeah, I imagine that most of them are probably to at least 2026, 2027. Like, I think like the biggest one I would personally like to see returns Adam Cole, but I'm sure he's contracted to 2027. So I got a 5-year wait for that one.
Absolutely, but still some good old AEW merch in the meantime from Adam Cole for sure. So I'm a big Cole supporter as well there. He does go on to say as well, I can see that good point. Regal will thrive no matter where he is. And please, if he does come back, bring Excalibur with him because he's an erratic Englishman and he gets away with it. Not Excalibur, by the way, Regal when he does the dirty talk each and every time on Dynamite. James says, have you guys
War
ever
games?
noticed...
That's what I need. I need one more. War games?
I just could imagine. No, let's not imagine Regal and Excalibur in the War Games. Let's not do that. James says, have you guys noticed the greater use of video packages just like the old days? Have indeed. It's been great to see, and particularly the Intercontinental Championship and the United States Championship, the way to try and build those championships back up, particularly with two of my favorite video packages. I really enjoyed the way they were put together. WWE has always done great work with video packages, but I think, like you said, that they're going back up to another level again.
I tell you what, I did appreciate this week as well. Talking about video packages, well, there's the Solo Sikoa one during his entrance, so it took no time away from anything. It was perfect. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, that was generally they need to do more of that because let's be fair, nothing wrong with Solo's entrance, but he's walking to the ring. He's just simply walking to the ring. Yeah, you've got something you can do in the meantime. You've got where if you're not. I mean, you should be interested if you've not seen Solo Sikoa before. But if you've seen him, know what he's all about, you can say, I'll watch the top left side of the screen. But for the people that didn't, you got something there. Like you said, there's no dead air. For me, I thought this was, again, one of the real high points of SmackDown because by doing that, they can do that going forward. And like you say, cut a lot of dead air because the amount of times people come to the ring and stuff goes on with a video package here, something there, backstage here. We've got another match being announced. And then they go back to the ring. The person's been standing there for 10, 15 minutes. This is a way to cut some of that dead air.
But the thing as well is they used some of his original NXT package when he was introduced to NXT as well. So they're reusing the same content. So like it's nothing different from what we got. This is another reason why that NXT is going to be becoming more canon for these new stars when they come into Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, well, actually, they will be connected, hopefully, going forward, it feels, which is something we really, really want to see. Because let's be fair, like, you know, when they come up and they're brought up as a complete new name, it's a bit alien, isn't it? It doesn't really make any sense. We've run out of questions for the second, so I'll give people an opportunity if they want to throw any questions in before we close off the stream, because there's one topic I wanted to talk about before we went off air, and obviously you had something you wanted to mention as well. So you wanted to put my wrestling knowledge to the test. Is this correct?
Yes, it is indeed, Steve. I think we should start doing this like a segment, maybe once a week, once a month, whenever. But you're quite knowledgeable in the world of wrestling, and yeah, I'm going to test you on it.
Okay.
So we're going to do. So we're doing this now, right? Yeah.
How about we give it? Okay.
Go for it. No, go for it. No, go for it. Go for it.
We can
go for it. Because going to take 10 minutes.
So you're thinking 10 minutes. I'll tell you what, let's go for it now, and we can do my topic afterwards. And if anyone has any questions in the meantime, that's their time to put it in, and then that's when we do, and we can finish off the stream after that. I think that's a good idea. No problems. So let's go for it.
So I'd recently discovered, well, I say discovered it, when we went to Cardiff this weekend, we had time to kill. So we decided, as fans of wrestling, fans of football, that we would do quizzes. And these are basically, it's a topic. I've got a time limit, and I want you to spill as many answers as possible on the understanding that I can spell their names quickly enough and well enough.
Oh, God, so there we go.
With Extreme Rules coming up, I couldn't find any Extreme Rules themed quizzes. So with Saudi Arabia coming up, I found a Saudi Arabia one. Okay. So Steve, you've got 11 minutes. You've got 50 answers.
Oh, no. No, where this is going already.
I want as many participants to the greatest Royal Rumble ever.
Is the chat allowed to help? Right,
go for it.
But Bumatunde, aka Commander Aziz, we've got Braun Strowman, who won it. We've got Daniel Bryan, Big Kaz, who was the number 50. Chris Jericho made an appearance in this. We had about 20 NXT stars in this match, but that's not going to count. Oh, dear goodness. It was Titus O'Neil. That's when he fell over, if I'm not mistaken.
That was.
Yeah, that would be where he fell over. Okay. Oh dear. Right, this is where the mind starts to go blank already. Who was even employed in WWE by this point? I don't know.
Exactly. This is 2018, so you could start spilling off names. Give me mid-carders. Give me someone.
Oh, well, let's not do Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn. They wouldn't have been there. Let's go Enzo Amore.
Enzo Amore.
Might not have been there.
I don't think he was.
No. I've been given the position of Mansoor. Was it too early? Or was it?
No. Do you know what? I think He was on the card, but he wasn't in the Rumble by the looks of it.
Jinder Mahal.
Probably one of the Jinder Mahal. Apparently wasn't in the Rumble. Let's try Ziggler. I'll double check these after because it might just be myself. Ziggler was. He was number 2.
Bobby Roode.
Let's hope if I could spell it properly. Yep, number 25.
Number 25. Okay. We will go with Shinsuke Nakamura.
Shinsuke Nakamura was not apparently.
No, he probably was facing like someone else on the card, maybe AJ Styles at that point. I'll be given the Lucha House Party. So Kalisto.
Give it a try. Kalisto. He wasn't apparently.
No,
let's try the other ones. Grand Metalik.
I think they were all against Lars Sullivan on this show.
No, they wasn't. No, apparently not.
Right. Back Drew McIntyre.
McIntyre. He wasn't either. Jesus Christ. This is hard. I thought this would be easy.
No, because it had a full card beforehand, and then the load of jobbers go into this card. So I'm trying to think of all the undercard. Darren Young.
It wouldn't be a bad shout. He wasn't, unfortunately, by the looks of it.
Who was the sumo wrestler that was in there at number 7?
There was a sumo wrestler. Thinking, that was the fake Yokozuna. Yeah, don't ask. Go to another one.
Yeah, because that's who they wanted. They wanted Yokozuna, and he wasn't alive anymore. So yeah. God, talk about peer pressure. Goodness, Elias for sure. He was. He saw Titus go under.
Number 20.
Number 20. Thank goodness for that. Thank you, Bama Dave. God. Right. Let's try and think of other people around this time period that was in.
Just give me names. Just
Rey Mysterio.
Rey Mysterio. He was number 28.
Number 28. Okay. Let's go with Justin Gabriel.
I don't think Justin Gabriel was in the company at the time.
No, he was in Lucha Underground, I think, by that point. I'm sure of it. I think I've already mentioned Braun Strowman. He was the winner of this. He
won it, yeah.
Yeah, so there must have been some other. There was loads of NXT people. Was Riddick Moss in there?
According to this, he wasn't.
No, fair enough. The Miz. We'll go with the Miz.
The Miz. He wasn't. No. Jesus, I thought this would be easier.
Shane McMahon.
McMahon. He was number 47.
Number 47. There we go. He loves to get in towards the end. Daniel Bryan, I've already mentioned, I'm sure.
Yes, he was number 1 with Dolph Ziggler.
Number 1, yeah, of course, yeah. John Morrison as an option. I think again he's still maybe in Lucha Underground by this point.
Lucha, yeah, he wasn't in the company at that point, but no, unfortunately not.
Okay, how many have we got?
9.
No. Roderick Strong. Let's go for Roderick Strong. It's one of the more memorable.
He was number 34. Roderick Strong, yeah.
34, love it. Adam Cole, baby.
Cole, no, he wasn't.
I'm just going to go with NXT stars now. Aleister Black.
Black? Nope, apparently not.
Andrade.
Andrade? Apparently not, unless he's going by CN Almas at this point still.
Oh, dear.
Nope.
Let's go with... How many minutes have I got left? How much dead air can we create?
We've got 6 minutes left still.
6 minutes. There we go. We've got Dom saying Sami Zayn potentially, but I'm sure he doesn't do those shows.
Sami Zayn doesn't do the Saudi shows, does he?
No, he does not. No. Goodness. Angelo Dawkins. I'll go with Dawkins because he was still a solo runner on NXT probably at this point.
Dawkins was not.
It's probably still.
I thought this was easy. This is, to be honest with you, mate, I wouldn't even have a clue at this point because I'm like, my God, the names you're throwing out and they're still not on there. Like the Miz, how's the Miz not in this?
No, I think he was on the card earlier in the night, probably. Let's go Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy.
Hardy. No, Hardy's weren't on this either. This is
Bray Wyatt.
I very much doubt that one, but no.
No, I believe I said Jericho earlier, but we'll go with Jericho.
I'll double check. Jericho he was number 50. My apologies, I didn't hear you before.
That's fine. Rusev, that's a good shout there. Although wasn't he not in the casket match?
Rusev wasn't. He was in the casket match with Taker, yeah. So he was the replacement for Bray, I think, or whoever was injured.
For Bray, yeah. Randy Orton. Here we go. We've got a big time name here.
Randy Orton was in it, 35.
30. So Randy was in this match. How about we go with John Cena?
Cena. Just for C Nation Dog, who's just commented, we're trying to guess the
Absolutely.
50 participants to the greatest Royal Rumble ever.
It's going well.
He's got 12 out of 50 so far.
Oh dear. New
Big
Day.
Show was not in it.
Any members of the New Day? Let's go New Day.
Let's try Kofi. Yeah, Kofi was in there. Let's go Big E. Big E was in there. Xavier Woods was in there. All three of them in there. 9, 14, and 31.
A Royal Rumble favourite given of us from Don Mills and from Dave Kane.
Oh, unfortunately, Kane was not part of this one. I think he was running his state at that point.
Knoxville. Let's go with Big Show then.
Angle was in there. I've just seen that one in the chat. Big Show was not, but Angle was. That's a great shirt by James Stewart there.
Indeed. So Nation, I've guessed Big Kaz. I know he was the number 50, if I'm not mistaken, at that point.
49. Jericho was 50.
49. There we go. Revival. What a great shout! Scott Dawson and Dash Wheeler at the time.
Wheeler.
Dash, whatever they're called back then.
I might be spelling Wheeler's name wrong, but I'll double check. Dawson's definitely in it, but I can't unless I'm spelling Wheeler wrong. It's not coming up.
It goes Cash Wheeler, so it's Dash Wilder. Dash Wilder.
That's why then, yes, it's Dash Wilder. Yeah. Yes, it was there. Number 11, sorry.
Yes. I've guessed Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode was in the match, yes. Oh, goodness gracious me. We need to do more of these, though, because they are fun. Let's go with, oh, dear. The Usos. I'm loving this. We got Tucker was definitely in it. Tucker was in it.
Tucker was not, but Tucker.
Tucker Knight.
Yes, Tucker
was back
then. He was in it.
Gable.
Let's go Otis. Otis was not. Gable was number 27. He got 20 so far out of 50.
There we go. Thank you for the chat. They're helping us to get a respectable score at least. Will we get to know some of the names we didn't mention? Hopefully they'll come up afterwards, fingers crossed. Let's talk then. How about the great Carl Lee's been suggested?
Yeah, that's in there. 47. Great shout there by James Stewart.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
don't worry, it's totally fine. 2.5 minutes we've got to find this. I mean, I almost feel like I want to give him myself here, but oh dear me. Just
I should have picked maybe such a hard one.
Yeah, we should have started with 92. This year would have been lovely. Heath Slater.
Let's go.
He's got kids.
Slater wasn't there, number 36.
Heath Slater's got Rhino.
Rhino was in number 22. Great shout.
Yeah. How about I mentioned Usos were not they were not. Roman Reigns were not. I need to go on Brock. So
Jimmy and Jay were not in it.
No.
Any of the Shield.
Zack Ryder.
Ambrose was not in it. Let's try Ryder.
And then Kurt Hawkins.
No, Ryder was not. Hawkins was in it, number 43. Unless I'm spelling Ryder wrong, but I don't think I am. Ryder.
Yeah, you're not any of the Shield. I mean, Seth Rollins, I don't think would have been Ambrose potentially.
Connor and Victor, thanks to the chat, are definitely on there.
Fantastic stuff indeed. There, thank you so much there, James. Stuart Ridley joining us. Hope you're doing well, Stuart. Buddy Murphy has been a shout here. That's a good
great shout there. Oh, he's not though.
No. What about Cedric Alexander, Mustafa Ali,
Alice, Alexander,
Mark Henry,
Henry. Henry was on there. Mustafa Ali was not on there.
Bo Dallas,
Hornswoggle
there as well.
No, Hornswoggle wasn't. I'm pretty sure he was, to be fair. I might be spelling that wrong. Dallas was not on there.
How about Curtis Axel?
Benjamin was on there. Curtis Axel. Yes, Curtis Axel was on there. Number 4. Benjamin was number 48. Got 29 of 50. So you've almost made up the normal Rumble.
Corbin. Happy Corbin. Probably Baron Corbin back in those days.
Baron Corbin at that point. 38. Yep.
Number
there
38.
He is.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
15 seconds left.
Ricochet. It's probably a bit early.
I think for Ricochet.
Too early for Ricochet. Let's go something wild to finish off with then. Let's go with William Regal. Why not?
Regal was not. Right, so I'm just going to quickly run through these answers with you. Hornswoggle wasn't there, so apologies. I was spelling it wrong.
Okay.
Wow. Okay. So Sin Cara, Mike
Yeah.
Kanellis, Hiroki Sumi, which is the sumo wrestler, who's the fake Yokozuna. Victor, well, I was spelling it wrong. I knew I was spelling it wrong, but we did say that. Tony Nese, Hornswoggle, Primo Cologne, Goldust, Luke Gallows, Drew Gulak, Fandango, Mojo Rawley, Tyler Breeze, Carl Anderson, Apollo Crews, Babatunde, which you did say is Commander Aziz. I just didn't put Babatunde in. That's what they wanted. Dan Mather, Ty Dillinger, Bobby Lashley, and Kevin Owens.
Oh, right. Okay.
So
wow.
take the three that you that I couldn't spell. 33 out of 50 is not a bad chat.
We'll take it.
We scored on average, so we'll take that.
Well, I'm going to say I want to thank the chat, because I think without the chat, I think it may have been stuck at like 12. So I think a big thank you to the chat needs to be given out there. So thanks to everyone that got involved on that. I think that was a lot of fun. I think we should definitely look to try and do something like that again in the future. And it's nice to see everyone else getting involved as well. But
Miles D said, sure, said, you might have done. I might have just misheard it. I had so many names thrown at me, and I'm trying to type them so quickly.
We have to see, but yeah, that literally, I think I got to a point where I just started throwing things and seeing what would stick, really. But if there's any questions you've got, get them in now, as now is your opportunity to do so. Because I just want to talk a topic very quickly, Drew McIntyre, with you, Silk, before we close things off. Because Drew McIntyre obviously came off on a losing effort in Cardiff, Wales. He didn't win the championship against Roman Reigns. He was singing karaoke to go off the show with Tyson Fury, but a much more focused Drew McIntyre this week wanted to go for Solo Sikoa, wanted to go for the bloodline, but of course, in the end, he met his match with Karrion Kross as expected at the end of the show. It looks like TikTok on the chosen one potentially could be the destination going as well into Extreme Rules. With Drew McIntyre now losing a match here against Roman Reigns, we're seeing now the fact he's kind of turning on himself a little bit here. He did get a DQ victory over Solo, but I think he perhaps may have a rematch with Solo. Kross could cost him in the future. If he was to lose to Kross as well again, could we start seeing again a downward spiral with Drew McIntyre? Would that be a sort of thing you'd want to see? Because there was a video package not long before Crashing the Castle where Drew said he hit rock bottom to the point he was sort of fired and released from the company. And I'm just wondering, what do we do with Drew McIntyre between now and WrestleMania next year? Could we do a storyline where we need to get Drew McIntyre almost feel like he's hit rock bottom again, looking desperate to find a way to get back up, and then find his way back up to get a big win at WrestleMania against whoever that his feud or rival may be at that time?
Yeah, the only problem I have is that I can't really see him at this minute outside of the main event scene. Like, unless they decide to do something crazy, like put him against Gunther for that IC title, which wouldn't be a bad shout. It's just a case of, like, they did it perfectly. Like, I know, like, obviously he's been out of the main event picture for so long, and they brought him back in perfectly, timed it well with Cardiff and everything, and it was kind of like it was fresh, like how we've had before, where it's just constantly done over and over again, where it's the same matches week in, week out, pay-per-view after pay-per-view. But with Drew, they kept him out the title scene. He had a whole thing with Sheamus through the majority of last year. Like, obviously, he had the point of having the match to see who went on to, was it Mania? I think that those two had a match to decide who went on to Mania to fight for the title. And then after that, he was just constantly doing other stuff. And I was really pleased for him because it didn't oversaturate him how we normally get with wrestlers. But I just don't know what you're going to do with him for between now and Mania. Like, he's had a tag team championship run with Dolph Ziggler. So I don't know. The only person I would want to have tagged him with was Sheamus. But Sheamus is doing his own thing now. He's after that IC title. He's trying to win that one championship that eludes him. Makes perfect sense. But with Drew, I'm fresh out of ideas. Like, unless I presume this is like the minute they're building to some sort of Survivor Series match, maybe. Like, we was messaging earlier on the week, and I think you said that it should be the team of Solo, Jimmy and Jay, Sammy and Roman as a Survivor Series team against a team of Drew and whoever he chooses. Seems like the most logical answer for them to do, but I just don't know otherwise. I'm really baffled with what they're going to do with him. If they were to do a case of that he falls on hard times, I think it would almost play into almost kind of it's like what they do all the time, to be fair. Like, you think about Happy Corbin's had the same thing, falling on hard times, and he got made back into Happy Corbin. Sammy's just constantly always been on hard times, and he's now starting to get like his face pushed in his redemption. So I imagine because I don't know what the plan is for him at Mania. I can't this minute. If you was to tell me an idea, I wouldn't actually have a clue. Because if it's supposed to be Rock Roman, then they should have taken the title off of Roman. This is why I don't. They should have pulled the trigger on him winning in Cardiff. Because what have they said? They've already said that Roman's not going to be on TV until. Well, he's going to be on TV, but he's not actually going to have a match until what? Survivor Series, maybe Crown Jewel. So there you go. And it's like, why do they insist on doing this and having your champion not wrestle? He's the biggest name on the card, and you don't have him on TV. It's like it's almost like the opposite to what we had with Cena. You know, you would get Cena every week, and especially when he was US champ doing his Open Challenge. It's entertaining though, and at least you know that you would go, especially for the crowds that are buying tickets to these shows. They're going to turn up on Monday and Friday, and they're going to be like, "Oh, we're going to see the biggest name on the card." Don't know. Whereas if you'd have had McIntyre as champ, you know McIntyre's going to be there every Monday and every Friday, and you're going to get your money's worth. So it's a conflict of interest between what's best for business and the fans. It's really hard to tell.
It is hard to tell. I mean, the thing is with Drew, I mean, is he as over in America as he is with the UK audience? There's no doubt on that night in the United Kingdom, it felt like that was the right move to do, put him as champion. But at the same time, you look and say, well, when he goes back to the States, you know, yeah, he's beat Roman. That's the big accomplishment. But does it transcend the same way? Obviously, we saw Sheamus this past week on SmackDown was massively over with almost as a babyface. But at the same time, you say, well, would that have been the same with Drew? And now he's going to take on someone like Karrion Kross. It looks next to Extreme Rules. Kross has just come back in. He's going to need to look strong here. Yes, he's got a strong program against Drew McIntyre, but it feels surely it's the right thing to do here for Drew to lose against Kross because Kross is the new monster that's in town.
Yeah, but then obviously with Braun coming back, maybe it's going to be a case of Drew versus Braun. But then why have Braun interact with the tag team division? Sorry, nearly choked then. Yeah, why have Braun interact with the tag team division? It's just, yeah, because you can't have Kross lose. Kross is, like I said, Kross is what we should have got 8-9 months ago when he first debuted. And it almost just seems like there's too many top guys at the minute, especially for and again, the problem is you've got both titles on one guy. They need to find a way to split them championships because you can't keep doing this because you're gonna have guys like Drew McIntyre with no narrative going forward, and it sucks, honestly.
Maybe there is a narrative, and maybe that is the case that we do find that way. And I'm going to go into some of the comments here a little bit split because we've got a few Drew ones that have popped in, so I'll put them up first here. But Anthony joined the stream. Thank you very much for joining us. As I can see, Drew McIntyre going on a downward spiral, and his character slowly turning into the Scottish psychopath gimmick again.
That I like because when he first debuted and he was doing that gimmick, he was the Scottish psychopath. That's obviously his heel persona. So maybe they are going to turn him heel. But I would love to see it again because like that character is really entertaining when he's heel. But the point, like, it's just the point of you can't have Drew as a top heel when Roman's the top heel. If there's no title involved, what's the point in having him as a top heel? It doesn't make sense. And like I said, Kross is obviously playing a heel now, and they're just inundating themselves with heel top guys. You look at Gunther. You take Gunther at the IC title, top heel guy. Then if you turn Drew into the psychopath, top heel guy, Kross, top heel guy, Roman, top heel guy, and you're left with like what Bobby Lashley as top face guy. It's really saturating what you've got to go up against Roman Reigns.
Maybe there's a reunited of the friendship that we have of Drew and Sheamus if Sheamus is turning babyface.
Like I said, would love to see it. I just can't at the minute. My whole thing is that Sheamus is winning that IC title at some point, and he's gonna kick 7 bells out of Gunther to try and do it. And that's going to be, I think that's going to be a Mania moment next year. Is you're going to see Sheamus finally win that IC title off of Gunther. It makes sense all the way. That or as much as I'd like to see it at Mania, you'll probably have it at something like Rumble. But yeah, I would love to see those two tag team.
Still be a very special moment. Sin Nation actually thinks that the Sheamus will be the next Intercontinental Champion. So it's very interesting to see that what's been said there. David Holy as well said there. Bamaday says, with Drew losing, I think Seth challenges and beats Roman at Survivor Series. This sets up for Cody return and beat him at WrestleMania 39. This was your dream fantasy booking for a long time, Steve. You I remember even at Backlash you were saying this idea of how Seth would be the one to take it from Roman. Survivor Series, do you think that could be the right place?
Yeah, it's like most people tell me, though, the problem is you would be having Cody beat Seth 4 times in a row, and for the 4th time it'd be for the championship. And as much as I'd love to see, it just makes sense for Seth to be the guy, because they have, since Cody's come back, he's been his main angle. But then if they can't get Rock, I can't see why Cody couldn't take it off of him at Mania. I think it'd be a great way to elevate Cody, and it would be a great Mania moment, but just don't see it happening, unfortunately. That's what I mean. I honestly don't know who's going to take that title for Roman. Seth makes all the sense for me, because I said the whole Cody Rhodes thing, but even people saying it, I don't think it will happen.
We'll have to wait and see how it would play out and who it would be. I've got a name suggestion that we could have here. It depends if he's re-signed with AEW. The answer, James, I don't know if he has or hasn't at this point. Tom would be my shout for this one, but has Moxley re-signed with AEW? If he was available, he's currently at the moment in this AEW tournament at the moment to crown a new world champion. He was supposed to be on vacation. Let's say he doesn't re-sign with AEW. Let's say he was available. Let's say that Triple H brought him back in. He could be the guy, because, as Thomas said on his live streams previously, they want Moxley for Moxley. They want what's presented now in AEW. They want that guy. They want John Moxley. They don't want the goofy Dean Ambrose that we had previously. The same with the wild things and everything like that. And that John Moxley against Roman Reigns, that could be money. And to be fair, you had Seth in the mix, but we had Seth on the last question there. That would be the perfect time to do the Shield triple threat match if you couldn't get The Rock.
That could actually be it could be so amazing if they did it right. If they want to bring Moxley back as Moxley, having come out and Roman just goes, "Dean, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Who's Dean? My name is John Moxley," and the crowd would absolutely lose their for it, and it would just be amazing. And like I said, there's so many of these payoffs that we never get. For instance, the triple threat between the Shield, the 4 horsewomen. These are matches that AJ and Finn not having more than one match against each other in WWE, because my God, these two can go, and it's just why we don't get these payoffs. I don't know, but yeah, my thing is that does Moxley want to come back to WWE? Sure, the money would probably be great, but does he want to go back on the tour schedule? Yeah, sure, his creative will be better because Vince isn't there no more. I mean, everyone knows Dean. I always saw Dean Ambrose as the future Steve Austin. It's just the way he was portrayed to me, and I thought he could be a massive guy, massive character. But yeah, I think if you're going to do the triple threat between the Shield, man, I would take all my money and I would watch that and quite happily enjoy that. And it would just be like the way Seth's evolved over the last couple of years, the way he's now become like a complete manipulator of your mind. Even back at Rumble when he faced Roman, come out in the Shield music and the Shield gear. Oh, beautiful. And now if you say you bring John Moxley back as John Moxley, man, it could be absolutely crazy.
It would be something else to say at the very least. We don't know the answer on that one, but I hope he comes back to WWE. I won't lie. That's what I want at this stage. I won't lie. Bamado says, what if Drew was the first NXT European champion? He could either be seen as a demotion or an opportunity to build something memorable for a season. I mean, that could be an idea for Drew if it all else failed. That perhaps he said, look, I've let home down. It's not a matter of Raw and SmackDown. I let home down. I'm going to go and become the first ever NXT European champion.
No, see, for me, he still needs that. He needs that win in front of a crowd with that WWE Championship or the Universal Championship. He needs that recognition. That's still what happened for me. The only way they could have possibly topped doing it in Cardiff is if they do a show in Scotland next year and they have a Scottish crowd and he wins. That's the only way now you could top doing it in Cardiff last weekend. That's the only way for me. Don't get me wrong. He'd be a great endorsement for NXT Europe as the European champion. It would be like I said, that I didn't see what I was always one for bringing them back years ago and having Drew being a European champion, put it on NXT as a mid card title or whatever. I was always for that. But the only way you're going to top Cardiff now is Scotland, and I think he needs it, man. I think he's earned it.
I mean, I can't disagree with that. I hope he does get his moment in front of a in front of a crowd, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in the States. You're not owed anything. That's the thing. You never owed it. Drew's time came then. It's up to Drew to be that guy again, to be that top guy, to make sure he is the one that does it. But assuming there's next year, James hopes that it's in London. I mean, for me, I'd be open and be very happy if it's in London. But Scotland, I think, would be awesome as well, just purely because, like you said, the idea of Drew getting the redemption. But obviously, from a bit of geography bias, I'm sure, Steve, you probably prefer London as well.
Oh, I've said that if Drew was to main event a Scotland pay-per-view, I think I would have to go. Just because my heart still tells me that there's a possibility he would win. Like, don't get me wrong, as much as I enjoyed Cardiff, it's so much of a hassle trying to arrange accommodation and travel and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, London is 30 minutes from where I live. Wembley Stadium, a packed out Wembley Stadium and having Drew McIntyre would be amazing. I'd be all for it. But like I said, if it was in Scotland, I'd have to go. I would have to force myself to go because I couldn't not be there if it happened. I would absolutely hate myself if I missed it.
Absolutely. You never know. Maybe as well, West Ham's Olympic Stadium. Triple H is a Hammers fan after all.
Good shout.
Could be a destination in the future.
No roof though, so if it rains, he's buggered.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Anthony says, "Hi, fellas, watching from across the pond. Sending prayers to you guys for the passing of the Queen. Thank you very much for sending that lovely comment as well, there, Anthony. We do appreciate it. Obviously, it's a strange feeling. It's all we've ever known. So it's a very strange feeling the last few days.
For me personally, it's kind of like a distant great grandmother that you knew was there, and now she's gone. You're kind of like, it feels weird that she's not there anymore. It's really strange.
It is really, really strange indeed. There, Bama bringing one of my favorite things he likes to bring to the chats: this or that. So you have to pick one or the other. Wade Barrett goes over to NXT Europe and is replaced by Beth Phoenix, or Nigel McGuinness comes over to Wade's chair and Wade goes up to Corey's seat. I feel I know what your answer is going to be immediately.
McGuinness comes over and Wade goes up to Corey's seat.
Yeah,
don't be wrong. I love Beth Phoenix, but for me, Nigel McGuinness, because he's British as well, I think it just adds a different a different something to the commentary team. Same with Wade, and I say if you put there's that British accent just comes across differently, and as color commentators as well. What's better than a British guy as a color commentator? Because in the UK, the US fans can really just hate on him because he's British.
Absolutely. The thing is as well, it can be a bit of bias in there, but obviously McGuinness, I just want to see more of him on my TV set. Obviously, he was with Ring of Honor for many, many years and stuff. I know he's done the American market before. I'd love to see him on a Raw or a SmackDown or an NXT. And like I said, Beth Phoenix is great at her role when she's done it previously, but McGuinness would be my choice.
More importantly, I would more love to see Mauro Ranallo to return to NXT because I just think he's amazing, and I think it's a different kettle of fish now, and I think he'd be just such a good way to elevate NXT again is to bring him back. Mamma mia.
Absolutely. Mamma mia, indeed. I think we'd all be screaming Mamma mia if he came back to wrestling. We'd love to see it. And he says Roman has the same provisions in his contract as where he has a limited schedule, like you see with Brock Lesnar. Very true indeed. Very true. This is why he has a part-time schedule, and this is why we see him fewer dates than we used to previously. Sin Nation says, isn't Braun Strowman first? This isn't for Braun Strowman's first rodeo either. He has ruined the tag team division by winning the Raw Tag Team titles with a kid named Nicholas at WrestleMania 34. Yes, painfully we remember this. If you'd have asked me this on your quiz, I would have got it right. At the same time, I think we should try and block that out. Really, it's probably best that we do that. C Nation says Roman Reigns should lose the WWE title to Rollins at Survivor Series, so that Reigns can keep the Universal title, and we could get Rollins versus Rhodes for the title at Mania. So that again, another push for that idea at the Survivor Series certainly could be an idea. I'm going to say I have a few ideas for Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Going to look to try and put that out in a shorter video this week. So this upcoming week, that'll be a short video that will come onto the channel. It's not just going to be plans for Roman, it's going to be plans for the entire bloodline at Survivor Series. So keep an eye out for that later this week. Is there anything you'd like to add on this comment?
No, it's a great shout. It's just unfortunately it's wings and hopes and prayers at the minute with booking, and we just I suppose it's a good thing really that we don't know what's going to happen, because I think by now a lot of us could probably presume what Mania is going to be, and it's just it leaves a whole narrative of what ifs essentially.
Absolutely, indeed. There, Sept is telephone. You can't hurt him with 10 losses to Cody. Lol. Bama, I think you're right. Sept is one of them guys. He's been that well booked over the years that he's almost like he can't be damaged unless you really have to do something really, like you have to do like green slime like you did to Braun Strowman to really hurt Sept at this point. But even Sept is goofy enough to make it work. That's just the thing.
His character work is so unbelievable that he just gets himself over no matter what he's doing.
Absolutely. Sinatra says that Jon Moxley has had a good run in AEW. Completely 100% agree, but a bias in me wants him to come back. I just do. Anthony also says, do you guys think the Scottish psychopath character can actually work as a babyface, or maybe as a tweener gimmick where he's already been both a babyface and a bad guy on the main roster? I suppose you could, but I think WWE would probably go with the devil they know, but we have Triple H in charge, so you never know. What do you think could be the option here? I think that we could... I mean, even NXT Drew McIntyre wasn't the Scottish psychopath, but wasn't kind of the Drew that we had here either.
Yeah, NXT Drew was face the whole time when he was champ, but I would personally go with tweener, like almost like an Austin, like the bad guy that gets cheered. I think if you just essentially make his character have a mental breakdown and just go absolutely bat crazy, I think it would pay off a lot more, because then you've got a guy that's been jilted, he's been cheated, he's been robbed, and he's just had enough and he's snapped. And I think crowd will get behind it massively.
They probably would. They probably would respect the idea of what's drove him to that character. So maybe it can work. I think for me, seeing is believing to see that could happen. I need to see it play out in front of my very eyes on the television set to actually really buy into it. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it will go. Bama Dave says, no lie, when NXT just said, my name is Jon Moxley, I got goosebumps. However, there's only room for one Stone Cold Steve Austin-like character in WWE, and she is the man, Becky Lynch. I mean, to be fair, it feels like the Triple H wants to get a bit more of these style characters out there, so I'm perfectly fine with it. Ronda Rousey's getting that treatment as well at the moment with Adam Pearce. I mean, I've seen again. We'll give Tom Colley, who's got a few shouts in. He's actually still hopefully listening with us as well from afar. Actually gave a report this week on Charlotte Flair could have some tweaks to her character coming up. And no, it's not the idea of a babyface run. It's still a heel run, but it's more to sort of get this more like Triple H-like characters we see with Charlotte and Ronda, that sort of style presentation when we see them in the ring. So maybe we might get another Ronda-Charlotte feud at some point down the line. But certainly, Becky Lynch, she does play that Steve Austin character very well.
Yeah, she does. She's fantastic.
She is indeed. James Stewart says, what do we think about the rumor of some title redesigns? Can't wait. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Certainly the Intercontinental title.
As much as I really hated the United States Championship, it's really grown on me now, and I think it's quite unique, and I actually kind of like it. And for me personally, it's probably one of the best United States Championships we've had since the big old flag one and that horrible John Cena one. But yeah, the IC one definitely needs a redesign. The tag team design, as long as you don't go back to them bronze ones, I'll be cool with whatever they do for them. And yeah, just a new look of the WWE and Universal Championships. I think they're just too samey. I don't want the Blue Universal Championship when it goes back to SmackDown and it's got a blue band. I
want big gold. I know it's unlikely.
Oh,
but I want
yes.
Big gold. That's what I want. Or the Winged Eagle. The Winged Eagle as well. Those titles for me, I know that the sentimental. I'm an old guy.
The 90s is the Winged Eagle. The noughties is the big gold belt, because that is just a beautiful championship. Oh, I was actually going to say this to you. So, I was looking at a Wrestle Talk article actually before we go to the next question, and they were talking about superstars that are close to being where they've won all the belts. What's the word?
Grand Slam champions or
Grand Slam champions, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Wrestle Talk. It was Wrestle Talk, one of them two. They put Dolph Ziggler in there because he'd only won the big gold belt. And they're not saying he's a Grand Slam champion. I was offended by this comment. And I was like, wait, you completely discrediting the big gold belt because it's not the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship. Ziggler is a Grand Slam champion, 100%.
He's won a world title. I guess if you want to win both of them, but then it takes a lot of other wrestlers out of the conversation. The Miz is a two-time Grand Slam champion. I don't remember him winning the big gold belt. I think he had the WWE
No, he's been
Championship.
the WWE Championship, yeah. But I just thought the way they discredited Ziggler because he'd won the big gold belt, I thought was just outrageous. I was like, no, you're mad. He's been top champion. Forget that.
There you go. Controversy comes around with some of these articles. We're going to do our last few comments then, and we'll wrap up the stream today. Anthony says if Drew does go back to the Scottish Tag Above character, with that character working a lot better with Gallus, if they were to come up to the main roster without the NXT Tag Team Championships. Obviously, I've given my opinion on this one before about Drew and Gallus. I don't know if you have, Steve.
A Scottish faction, I'd be up for that. I'd be up for Gallus with Drew McIntyre as an equalizer for Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. 4-on-4, that could be amazing.
I feel for me that Drew would have to be, to add on to it, if they did do it, Drew for me then would have to go heel because Gallus for me works so well as heels in comparison to the baby faces. So that's how the Bloodline would almost have to go babyface at that point. But I'm sure long term that's what WWE may.
Well, the plan apparently is for Roman to turn face at some point in the future.
There you go. There you go. Sasha says it's crazy how Seth freaking Rollins is all over with the losses he has taken this year. Clash of the Castle was his first win this year. First pinfall win. He also beat Roman Reigns by DQ at the Royal Rumble. So if you're going to win big. I guess that's what it comes down to.
And you know what? It hasn't hurt him at all. As all them losses, and he still, look where he is, he's still doing amazing.
And he's still got that laugh. Bama Dave says, the more I think about it, Drew should have won that match, even if that means he dropped the title on the next SmackDown via crossing the Bloodline beatdown. He deserved that moment. In the moment, I think it was the right move. And the thing is, I'll be honest, and I said this on the reactions at the time, a lot of times I watch wrestling, I watch it in my head. So I was sitting and go, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. Or I'm convinced myself it's going to go a certain way, and it does or it doesn't. I watched that match and I went, no, I was into it with heart as well as head. And when it got to the match, I went, I'm going full in heart. I'm not going to sit here and think about the idea of Roman winning. I'm gonna allow myself to think that Drew can win this. And as I did, I was buying every near fall. And to be fair, I wanted to do it with more matches. But the thing is that just the idea of it being a UK show, everything like that, I think just had all the ingredients for me. I felt would have felt like the right moment for me, although I am from this side of the pond, but I felt it was the right moment.
It's just always a shame that you can tell that there's that one point where you just turn around and go, no, that's it, he's lost. Yeah. And for me, like I said, as soon as he hit that first Claymore and my brain goes fuzzy, I'm sure he hit the first Claymore and I think Roman kicked out the first one. And that was it. Because for me, it should have been one and done and he should have won it. But as soon as he kicked out that first one, I was like, no, that's it. Drew's hit his finisher. He ain't winning this match now. And I was just like, I was all sold on. Like, I still had that small hope, but I even turned to my mate who was sitting next to me and I was like, Drew's losing this now. Like 95% of the way through, I'm like, it's Drew. And as soon as that one thing happened, I can't remember exactly what it was. I'd have to go back and watch the match in detail to pick it out. But I was like, he's going to lose this. And it did. And I was so gutted.
I must admit, there was a point where he did the last Claymore just before Solo came out. And I was like, they're going to do it. Like you said, he kicked out the first one, but then Drew kicked out. That last one, I genuinely fell hook, line, and sinker, and I was like, it was happening.
I almost fell forward 2 rows in anticipation. Like I was halfway out my seat, thinking he was just about to win. It was beautiful because obviously, like, I was in that moment and it was so exciting and it was great, but it was just, it's just like, that's what I enjoy mostly about wrestling. If it gets me to jump out my seat, then I'm gassed for it, man.
Absolutely. I've got to give a shout as well to Mex from WrestleMania UK very quickly. He's done a vlog from his time in Cardiff and you can see in the opening seconds of his vlog, the reaction to when Solo Sikoa came out to rescue Roman. He's got a genuine enthusiasm, genuine passion. He was involved with some of the media as well for Clash of the Castle. Highly recommend to go and check that vlog out. It's truly brilliant and worth your time going to watch that video if you get the opportunity. We'll go on the last few comments then, and I'll say then we'll wrap things up because it's getting late. It's getting very late for the UK folk. Anthony says, how about having one of the Irish backstage interviewers become the color commentator on Raw? So someone like maybe like is it Patrick Stewart, I believe his name is? Well, I mean, he's doing quite a few of the kickoff shows, isn't he?
I'm sure at some point he will probably end up getting a promotion and being a color commentator at some point. That's just the genuine how it seems to work, that you have to start as a backstage interviewer. I mean, I remember Michael Cole back in the late 90s doing that role. So, yeah, I imagine at some point he'll end up working his way up to commentary. Probably end up being actually a main commentator, knowing it. But, yeah, you can see it happening.
Yeah, we can indeed there. As far as the Nation says, Drew McIntyre should have won the Undisputed Championship at Clash at the Castle, because if he ever wins in future, it won't be as special. Interesting. I mean, you said there that Scotland would be where it would be higher special, but surely it would still be special, wouldn't it?
Yes, but I don't think it would have been as high as it would have been if it was in Cardiff. Like he will still get, if he's at face at the time and he's overcome the likes of someone like Roman Reigns, you still get a massive reaction out of it. It just wouldn't have been as special as it would have been in Cardiff unless they take it to, example, Scotland, where he's from, or even Wembley in London, because of obviously just in general being a bigger capacity crowd.
Yeah, I understand that indeed. Yeah, and I mean, like you say, it felt like a peak moment to do it. But Bamaday does disagree. Though he says incredible work lately has earned him a long and memorable world title run. His 2019 ones were okay, but they shouldn't be his last ones. So I mean, obviously the pandemic time, obviously when Drew McIntyre held them, I agree they shouldn't be his last ones. He will get his time to shine again. It's just a matter of when, not if, I would say. And C Nation then with our last comment here says Seth Rollins has won 14 titles in WWE, so he doesn't need to win another title. And the thing is, titles, they are props end of the day. It is all about the story ultimately, and Seth Rollins is telling a very interesting story week on week in WWE right now. So yeah, I agree, he doesn't need the title, but certainly will be against if he was to have it either.
Exactly, I wouldn't be against seeing him with that title again.
Absolutely not. Well, thank you everyone that's took your time out to watch the stream. Really, really do appreciate it as always. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do hit the like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe as well to SCW. And fingers crossed, the monetization may be there tomorrow. It was some hours short today. YouTube, do your magic, and hopefully at some point tomorrow can see that magic moment there.
I'll watch this back afterwards just to make sure we get an extra 2 hours in.
You are an absolute legend, honestly. But I want to say a big thank you to you as well, NXT. You always take the time out, and we do marathons. We never do sprints, and I've got to say thank you for taking the time out to be here again today.
Always a pleasure, and yeah, it's always a marathon because I end up waffling so much, but I enjoy these so much. But yeah, thanks for having me on again, Steve.
No problem at all. And just to say, confirmation, as we said, the title of the video: Sasha Banks, Naomi, Imminent return. How imminent do you think it will be? When's your date prediction? Is it tomorrow night on Raw? Is it next week? When is it happening?
Definitely tomorrow, I'm going to say. I reckon it just makes more sense if they're going to do this whole rematch tomorrow for them tag titles. Like I said, I think they're going to be the reason why Raquel and Aaliyah retain for me.
Interesting. I think it can be the reason why they dropped them, so that they have heel champions to go after. But yeah, I'm going to say tomorrow as well. And if it's not tomorrow, the Monday after will be the latest of my prediction, because of the fact I think they'll build to Extreme Rules. We are 4 weeks away from Extreme Rules, and we need to get there somehow to build another match. And I think there could be a fun match to see. And it balances things out and keeps things equal then for when Bianca takes on Bayley. But that's all from us. Thank you, Stuart, for the kind comments. It's a good show, guys. Thank you for everyone that's taken your time out to come and check this video out. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your days. Enjoy what you're doing. Have a great start to next week. And more videos will be dropping on the channel. And as you can see, each and every couple of days or so, I'd like to drop something on here, try and do more live streams as well. And there's plenty of content to check out in the meantime as well, if you want to see, including how I book Extreme Rules. That video, 10 minutes, is available on the channel for you to watch right now. But that's all from us anyway. Take care. Have yourselves a good one. I'll see you next time here on SCW. Take care.